Hey, in the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. And wherever you're spending some time with us, Chip and Zay holding it down right here on the Midday Texas Sports Unfiltered. If you're new to the show, welcome. We've been here, for over a year, and it's your show. So please play along. If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, the Texas Sports Unfiltered YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. That does help us to grow, and chime in on the comments. If you're listening to us on the Texas Sports Unfiltered app, which everyone should have downloaded on their phone, just go to your app store, download Texas Sports Unfiltered. Then join us on the Circuit of the Americas CODA text line at 512-222-9328. Zay, we got a Wild and Woolly Wednesday for everybody. We're giving away a $50 Cabo Bob's gift card. We'll do that a little bit later in the show. We'll have a trivia question for everyone to duke it out. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hump day. Beautiful day in the ATX. Again, no complaints here. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I feel like we kind of need to pick up where we left off yesterday because Texas added an incredible piece out of the transfer portal. Texas football, I'm referring to, in Murad Watson, the rising sophomore freshman All-American defensive tackle from Syracuse, who immediately to me becomes the crown jewel of the Texas transfer portal class. It's a class of 10 now. 5 defensive tackles when you count Cole Brevard, Hero Cadu, Travis Shaw, who came in January, and then you add Murad Watson and Levon Johnson, a rising junior at Maryland, who was, who's now on his way to Texas. He's going to be a rising junior at Texas after playing 2 years at Maryland. And that's unfathomable to land 5 defensive tackles and basically backfill all the defensive tackles you missed in recruiting. Jere Bledsoe, Aaron Bryant, Sadir Mitchell, Zach Swanson, Chris Ross. None of those dudes are still on the roster, and you just backfilled with guys who've got experience. It's kind of crazy. I mean, some schools are looking for 1. Texas got 5.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, shout out to Kenny Baker, Steve Sarkisian, Pete Kwiatkowski, doing their due diligence and picking up the biggest needs for this Longhorn program. We've been talking about it all off season. As soon as that loss to Ohio State happened, one of the first questions that we talked about, Chip, was, all right, you're going to have to replace a lot of interior defensive linemen, and a couple of other holes are going to need to be filled too. And when you bring in 5 guys, all capable of getting quality minutes this upcoming season, quality snaps, you got to like what this coaching staff has done on making this team once again very competitive, especially in the interior. And, again, Keith Baker, he's done a hell of a job since he's been here. We know he's a young upcoming coach. I think he's still in his 30s. I don't know.
All right.
But
we're getting some chop. Yeah, you and a little bit of an echo. You want to reconnect?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I know. No, I'm not quite sure what's been going on there. We've had a little bit of a technical chop here, but we'll get Zay to reconnect, and hopefully that will take care of that. Yeah, it's been a surgical performance from Texas in the transfer portal. Steve Sarkisian getting the needs addressed. Texas, you think about the transfers Texas has brought in, I guess you could technically call Xavier Worthy a transfer, but not really. I mean, he got out of his letter to Michigan, came in as a true freshman, but Adonai Mitchell, Matt Golden, Isaiah Bond, Silas Bolden, you think of the transfers that Texas has brought in, and we got Zay back with us now.
We good? We good?
So.
Yeah.
Although I'm still hearing an echo. I don't know.
Not good.
It's not good. All right. All right, I'll reconnect.
Okay. Oh, yep, an echo. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know what's going on. Wi-Fi is cool. Everything's spiffy. I don't really know what's going on. Am I getting an echo? Now y'all let me know. Obviously, I can't hear it when it's just me. But yeah, piggyback off of what Chip was talking about with all these transfer guys. I mean, very impressed. Kenny Baker, very impressed with Pete Kowski, all these guys. Okay, still jittery. That's not good. Don't really understand it.
How we doing?
Not good.
Not good.
Not good. Says I'm still choppy. So let me try this shit again.
Okay. All right. We'll try it again. We'll get this right. We gotta be in crystal clear stereo for everybody. But the transfer portal, Texas has been surgical. Steve Sarkisian, Kenny Baker, this coaching staff. Sarkisian indicated 10 days ago that Texas would probably be addressing receiver, tight end, and defensive line in the portal. And boom, you get the top tight end in the portal. You get Emmett Mosley, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th of the rising sophomore receiver from Stanford, who we found out this week that Texas was recruiting out of Santa Margarita High School in Southern California before a knee injury that occurred. So, still hearing an echo.
Still?
Yeah, let's give it a second. Let's see. Maybe it'll get better.
A hotspot, and I'm not even on my Wi-Fi anymore.
God. You're not connected to an Ethernet cord?
No, I've never been connected to a Ethernet cord.
You don't have like a cable router or any?
No, it's always been Wi-Fi, and it's been fine. So right. I don't know what the hell's going on.
All right. Well, we're talking about the transfer portal and the fact that, oh man, that's weird. Gosh darn it. That they got the number 1 tight end out of the portal. Can you hear it, Zay? You can't hear it.
I can't hear it now.
Okay. They got the number 1 tight end out of the portal. They got Emmett Mosley the 5th, who's been, let's see here. If your speakers are on, Chip, turn them off or down. All right. Let's give that a try. But their ability to go address needs in the portal has been surgical, and it's wild that I mean, not wild, but just impressive to be able to go get that kind of talent out of the portal. It tells you that A, Texas is all in on trying to win a championship this season, and B, that their ability to recruit is still at a high level. So you got the number one recruiting class out of high school in 2025, and Texas Tech may have the best portal class in 2025, but Texas got what it needs. So it's just impressive because I don't know about you, Zay. I feel differently about Texas after these latest portal additions than I did 4 days ago. I think this is a team that has a better chance to, win the SEC, win, in the college football playoff than I did 4 days ago.
I like that. That's a good switcheroo there. I mean,
yeah.
I still need to. I wish we had a spring game so I could see some of these guys, or just in general, where the fans can come in and watch, I guess, the organized practice or something like that, so you could see some of these new guys in action. Because, again, all 10 of these guys, you expect them to contribute in some sort of way. But, again, going back to the interior defensive line, all these guys still have a lot to prove. You know what I'm saying? And we're saying the same thing about Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins last year. We had no idea what those guys are going to bring to the table when it comes to, damn, it's really that chumpy. All right. Hold on, Jay. Let me try something. I'm just going to restart my freaking computer because this shit's ridiculous. So,
all right. Hey, we'll get it right.
Good.
So, yeah, I think you look at the fact that Texas is. Look, Vegas loves Texas. They loved Texas before. They loved Texas before the spring portal window, but they love them a little bit more now because Texas is now even odds with Georgia to win the national championship at plus 500. Texas was just behind Ohio State at 550. Now they're even, plus 500. And Arch Manning's Heisman Trophy odds have come down. You've got Arch Manning as the favorite according to BetMGM. Arch Manning is now plus 600 to win the Heisman Trophy, ahead of Garrett Nussmeier, and who's plus 650. And then Jeremiah Smith has now become the third highest favorite. So you got Arch Manning at plus 600. You got, Garrett Nussmeier at plus 850. Jeremiah Smith, the Ohio State receiver, at plus 1,000. And Cade Klubnik, the Clemson quarterback from Westlake, at plus 1,100. Arch Manning was plus 650 before the spring transfer portal window. So Vegas likes Texas a little bit more now after the spring portal window. The odds, Zay, I was just saying, Texas is now plus 500, tied with Georgia, according to BetMGM, to win the national championship. They were behind Georgia previously. It was Georgia plus 550, Texas plus 600. Now they're both plus 500.
Yo, man, we're putting a lot of stock in the Gunner Stockton here.
Yeah.
Is that for real? Come on, I get it. Kirby Smart's that dude. Kirby's gonna be Kirby. He gonna get those felons ready. You know, those dudes that need to do defensive driving. The whole team needs to do defensive driving. The whole squad. I don't care if
or Uber
driving, or Uber, either or. But all right, if everybody thinks Gunnar Stockton's that dude, I mean, the dude did win with Stetson Bennett, so why not Gunnar Stockton? But I like that. I like that Texas, who should always be in the mix, is in the mix. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I just got to see proof. You know what I'm saying? Because saw your terrific article, Horns 24/7, where you did your grades for all the transfer guys coming in. A lot of A's on that list, Chip.
A lot of A's.
A lot of A's I saw. So, a
lot of A's. I mean, all I can go on is what you've shown me. Not what you tell me, what you've shown me. And what you've shown me, Jack Endries, is 56 catches last year when Gunnar Helms set the single season record with 60 catches last year at Texas. What you've shown me, Emmett Mosley, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, is 6 touchdown catches, breaking the Stanford freshman receiving touchdowns record. What you've shown me, Rashad Watson, is that you are special. That dude got thrown in and he held up double teams at the point of attack on a 10-win team. Got better as the year went on. Had 6 tackles, I think, in their regular season finale in a win over Miami. So, I mean, I'm just keeping it real. When they brought in a Jai Hall and Jaleel Billingsley, I told you this is bad.
Jai Hall.
Remember that?
I mean, how could you forget? The dude was literally trying to get boots off his car.
That poor dude, he was trying to get some boots off the car.
No, don't say that poor dude. That's an ignorant move.
No, it's not poor. He got 6 figures to come here.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and he was cheap. So he got 6 figures to come here, and he was going to be cheap while doing it. Like, I'm sure you could afford the little bill that you got to pay when you got to get your boot off your car. But he wanted to take matters in his own hands. Yeah, those were darker times than now. That's for sure. And you know my favorite player, Mason Shipley. Here we go.
What grade do you give him?
I'm going to give old Mason a B right now. I'm going to give him a B.
He's connected on 88.6% of his field goals.
In the freaking Sun Belt, whatever the hell conference they're in.
All
right. I don't mean nothing to me. He's out here kicking in with about 44 people in the stands. That ain't no pressure. Talk to me when you got over 100,000 in the seats and everybody's watching. And this is to win the SEC.
What do you mean? You saying that kicking in the Sun Belt's a little different than kicking in the SEC?
I'm saying it's a lot different.
And those goalposts are the same width.
That don't mean a damn thing. Like, I've fans in the stands. You know what I'm saying? How much pressure you feeling, Mason? Not that much pressure. Ask Bert about that pressure. It was too much for him. We already talked about this. Big 12 pressure. All right, Bert could deal with that. It was fun. Life was good. Bert was going on 6th Street, wilding out. Sark said, let me give this boy a scholarship because he's earned it. Bert turned around and had a very tough SEC showing. It was brutal. It was rough. So I think the pressure, it jumped on Bert's back. It was tough for him to get that pressure off. All them positive conversations that him and Sark were having, Sark and him basically slow dancing, Sark having his hands over Bert's shoulders and stuff. They smiling and giggling and stuff. That didn't mean nothing. Bert went out and smoked those other kicks too. So I'm just saying, Mason, this ain't even your job. Will Stone might have something to say about it. So are you willing to do what it takes to steal that spot, to steal that kicking job? Because Jeff Banks going to make you battle. But all in all, yeah, I like this transfer group coming in. I like the early enrollee freshmen. And I don't know. I guess they're done. Would you consider this coaching staff done with the transfer portal, or are they still being greedy?
I think they're done, but you know, Steve Sarkisian says we're always looking. Always looking. So, yeah. Got 2 days left. Portal closes in 2 days. Now, sometimes paperwork, new names don't surface until after the portal closes. But I think they're done. We'll see. And I think they've hit in such a way at the defensive tackle spot that they probably won't have to go back into the portal for defensive tackle. Now, you never know, but last year they brought in 3 guys who had, one year of eligibility. Tia Savea decided to redshirt 3 games in because he saw that, Lole and Norton were going to be the primary rotational players with Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton. So he bought himself another year and went back to Arizona. Maybe got a little, second helping of the NIL bread.
Good for him.
But Norton and Lole were gone. You knew Collins was gone and Broughton were gone. They were 5th-year seniors. So you knew this was a transition year, shall we say. But then you go get 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive tackles. I'm probably in awe of that because I know how hard it is. I'll just never forget. I tell this story all the time. My man, the former head coach, Guy Morris, the former head coach at Baylor, who, coached at Kentucky, told me at the College Football Home Depot Awards when he had the Ray Guy Award-winning punter, Daniel Sepulveda. He said, I'm going to get fired if I can't find me some defensive tackles. And he got fired.
I shouldn't laugh at somebody getting fired, but damn.
That's how important they are. Mm-hmm. If you can't stop the run, you got no shot. So that's why those dudes are the gold bullion, the holy grail of the positions in football. It's easier to find a quarterback. Now, you have to have a quarterback, but it's easier to find a quarterback than it is to find a difference-making defensive tackle because you don't know. You can bring them in. They could get complacent, gain weight, blah, blah, blah. That's why you got to have a great D-line coach. I mean, the only reason Syracuse got Murad Watson is because of Elijah Robinson, who used to be at Texas A&M. He's an unbelievable recruiter. He's a really good developer. And he became the defensive coordinator at Syracuse. And the dude can sell ice to an Eskimo. So,
yeah. I don't know how Fran Brown's doing it. Like Fran Brown and Syracuse, they had a good year. And I don't trust any program that plays their football games in the same facility that they play their basketball games. That's just very odd to me. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. Like what they're doing up there in New York, they're developing players. They're getting guys in. And Steve Sarkisian went out and poached one of them.
So Dan Hawkins, who famously said, it's the Big 12 when he was at Colorado. he and I did a Sirius XM radio show together for 3 years, and he said, I will. Oh, let me make sure I get this just right. He said, I will hand it to a bonehead. I will throw it to a bonehead. I will not snap it to a bonehead. So the quarterback position, you can't, that guy's got to be the tip of the spear. He's got to be the leader. He can't be the one that people are looking at going, oh man, this guy. So,
I mean, Jim McMahon was a bonehead. Now, arguably the greatest defense of all time on the other side, but still, I'm trying to process these boneheads that have been to the mountaintop. There's not many. Jim McMahon might be the only one. I'm sure someone in the text line can let us know if there are any more, but yeah, your quarterback has to be pretty buttoned up. You would like
well,
that.
I heard someone say, this is how bad the Bears have had it.
Jameis ain't win, CD.
Well, I heard someone say the Bears offense hasn't moved the ball since Jay Cutler left.
Yikes.
That tells you a lot.
I mean, Jay Cutler hasn't been gone that long. Has he? Has it been 10 years even since Jay Cutler?
Feels like it.
Feels like it. See, y'all naming boneheads that didn't get to the mountaintop, that failed and were pretty overrated. Jamarcus Russell, that brother didn't even watch film. He was getting tested by the front office and the coaches. He came back 0 film watched on his laptop or whatever the hell they did it to.
Jay Cutler's last season in Chicago was 2017.
Okay, yeah. Haven't been
8
10 years yet.
Years ago. So
Jay Cutler always gonna be a legend to me. Say what you want. That dude, he got kids. Jay Cutler, you heard me, damn it. Christian Cavallari, he bagged her. You didn't watch Laguna Beach growing up. I grew up on Laguna Beach and the hills, them MTV shows.
Okay, I know who Christian Cavallari is because
she's been
Sean Adams and I went and did our show from Vegas, and he got us into some party at Wet Republic, and she was the host.
See?
And I'm like, I've never felt older in my life.
Yo, Christian Cavallari is a first-round pick. She's been putting up numbers 20 and 10 for about 20-something years. Is she crazy as hell? Absolutely. Crazier than the road lizard, as my dad would say. But
she's been a successful businesswoman.
She's a successful businesswoman, exactly. I'm surprised she even was cool with Jay Cutler because he's kind of off. Like, it must have been the aura of being the NFL quarterback. I mean, he's not a bad-looking guy, but still, it's not surprising that their relationship's over when she had to probably realize, oh, man, this guy playing football, he was already a piece of work. Now he's retired, and I got to deal with this fool. Now he's just hanging around.
He's just hanging around the house, annoying me.
Yeah, that's not it. See, Coach 420, see, don't even try to clown me like that. I'm telling you, for a young teenage boy, Laguna Beach, the hills.
Coach 420 said the hills and Laguna Beach. Come on, Zay. You wear Hollister and American Eagle back then too?
I ain't wear all that, but I'm just saying, it showed your boy some things.
You shopping at Forever 21?
No, I ain't say all that, but your boy did learn some things from Laguna Beach and the hills, and, it paid off. Let's just say that. It paid off.
Paid off.
It paid off. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Well, Speaking of Texas State, which is near and dear to your heart,
Very.
you watched that baseball game last night?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
4 hours long.
Ugh.
8 pitchers for Texas State, 7 pitchers for Texas. Texas was down by 5, it seemed like a couple different times, and then they find a way. And Texas comes back on a grand slam home run by Jalen Flores, and Texas, with like the craziest pitching situation, ended up winning. Like this tells you something, because Texas, their pitching, they didn't use anybody that they're probably going to use on the weekend. Maybe Dre Duplantier, who pitched 1 inning. But Texas State was up, 4-0 after 4. Then Texas answers with 4. Then they go down 5-4 in the 6th. Then they go down 9-4 going into the 7th. Texas scores 4 runs. They're down 9-8. Then Texas State adds 2 to go up 11-8. And then Texas scores 2 in the top of the 8th to trail 11-10, and then gets the grand slam home run from Jalen Flores in the top of the 9th. And Texas wins 14-11. The bats came through when they had to. And our man Jonah Williams had a hit. 1 for 4.
We'll take it.
Take it.
We'll take it. Yeah, he's still getting his feet wet, but yeah, crazy game. A lot of points on the board. It seemed like T-State was going to pull away with it. When you're putting up 4 runs early on, multiple guys going yard, they're hitting grand slams. This might be just one of them nights, one of them Tuesday night games that gets the horns again. And this team, they're going to stay the course. They're going to stay locked in. There's so many different guys that can contribute that if you're a pitcher on the opposing team, you better stay locked in yourself, because anyone could go off. Casey Borba had a huge 3 RBI homer. Rylan Galvan had a huge homer at the end, and it seemed like they just kept loading up the bases, but weren't many runs, if any, were coming from it. And then Jalen Flores in the 9th inning completely just shatters the game and takes the heart out of those Bobcats. And it was getting spicy. You know me, I love my spice when it comes to sports, especially baseball, in a game that's not necessarily spicy, not as much trash talk and stuff. But when there is, it elevates the game. And you see Jalen Flores, he pointed at somebody in that Bobcat dugout when he was rounding third, going home after that grand slam. He pointed at someone, and there are just different chatter throughout that game. Like, it felt like a rivalry, even though the two teams aren't in the same conference, obviously, but with how close the schools are to one another, the fact that they've already played in one game, and Texas State came away with it at the dish, and now you fast forward to what we saw last night, it felt like a rivalry, and it was a lot of fun. Hell of a game.
Yeah, Texas State gets up for that game like no other. Coach 420 says, I was at the game. Them students were talking reckless. Walked out that stadium sad. I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't know about this. CB says the Bobcats were giving Quan Cosby the business.
For what? What was Quan doing?
I don't know. Give us more details on that, CB, the world's greatest volunteer producer in the history of radio.
Was he on color on like the radio or something? Because I know Ty Harrington was doing that for the SEC network or SEC Plus.
Yeah.
By the way, we never said this. Shout out to our guy Mike Harge, man. Harsh did his thing this past weekend in the Auburn series.
Yeah.
Harsh did his thing.
He's working for SEC Network.
Yo, I've been saying bang, bang. He hit that thing all week.
Bang, bang, he hit that thing.
Oh, man. Shout out to my Collier homie, Mike Harge, dog. He did his thing. But, yeah. Good little game. Get a couple of days off before them red hot Aggies come to the ATX.
So Jack says, so what was the deal? Schloss was experimenting with pitchers. Is that right? Yes. So normally on Tuesday night, you have Cade Bing, but they need the Binger now as a relief pitcher for the weekend because they're going to have to juggle the pitching without Jared Spencer. We still don't know if he's going to move Ruger Riojas to Friday. I'm hearing that Max Grubbs is too valuable as a middle reliever. And so they might leave Max Grubbs as the fireman, middle reliever, and move Ruger into that Friday night starting role. And if he struggles, you bring in Max Grubbs.
So who's Sunday then?
So then Sunday could be the Binger.
Okay.
So we'll see how this plays out. But yeah. Schloss was juggling the pitching last night. That's why you saw, it was Grayson Saunier. He started, and then you had Bryce Navarre. He struggled.
Yeah.
You had Hudson Hamilton. He struggled. Connor McCreary. He struggled. And then Dre Duplantier even struggled, which was, Drew Rarick struggled. Like, it was rough. Obviously, you give up 11 runs, something's gone wrong. Cody Howard came in. He was the 2-4-7th pitcher for Texas, and he ended up getting the win. He pitched 1 1/3 innings, gave up 1 hit, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. He pitched 1 1/3 scoreless innings, and then Thomas Burns was good. He got 3 strikeouts to end the game. So
he's a guy that you would see on the weekend.
Yeah.
Thomas Burns.
Yeah.
There was a lot of who when somebody went to the mound, like, who the hell is this? Like, you got to go check the roster on who the hell it was. Not guys that have been playing a lot got bumped yesterday. So you could tell they were trying to work some kinks out there. And, hey, a win's a win.
Oh, yeah. And I guarantee you Schloss didn't care about whether they won that game or not. He needed to use a bunch of pitchers and see who was game ready, because they're going to have to adjust going forward. Like, they need a new Tuesday night guy because it used to be Jason Flores. Well, Jason Flores is good enough to come in as a reliever, so they need him on the weekend. Then it was Cade Bing. Well, Cade Bing's good enough. Now they need him maybe as a Sunday starter. So you're having to rotate through. And I was talking to someone I trust connected to Texas baseball who said, listen, the way these guys coach, the way these guys identify talent, injuries are opportunities for the guys on that 33-man roster to get a chance to step up, like we're seeing with Jonah Williams. And there's a lot of confidence still on that, in that dugout, because they feel like they got guys. So, they've been fortunate. Their starters have usually been able to go 4+ innings, a little deeper sometimes than that. And that makes it, easier on the bullpen. And when you've got some middle relievers like Max Grubbs, and Ruger's moved in to that starting role, but they got guys, and I'm excited for this weekend because the Aggies, they kind of think they've figured it out. They went to Arkansas and they won. They took 2 of 3. So they're coming in as hot as they can be. I mean, they started off SEC play 1-9. So they're still not in the rankings, but they're 8-10. So that tells you they've won 7 of the last 8 in SEC play. So bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. I mean, again, stepping up is what this team does. Like, everybody seems like they have played a part in the success that this number 1 team in the nation has had this year. Like Duplantier, like he was the one that came home on that Jalen Flores homer because he walked.
Yeah, he had a great at bat.
Like,
drew a walk, and
what do we say about him? Just get on base, dog. Whether you get hit, whether you bunt, whether you have to beat out that throw the first every single time because you've had light contact, don't matter. Just get your fast ass on first base. Ethan Mendoza's coming up next. Then you got that great slate of hitters.
And Mendoza got on a fielding error. And then stole second. Then Galvan walked. So you got a walk, a reach on a fielding error, and then another walk, and then Flores makes him pay for all those mistakes. And as CB points out, Texas State had brought in their weekend starter.
Come on,
Coach. Jesus. They brought Jesus into the game. And he got toe up.
See, is it that serious, man? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't – I understand it's Texas State, and it's big for the program. I'm sure the athletic director appreciates it down there in San Marcos and stuff, but what are they, 19 for 21 overall?
Yeah, 19 and 21.
Okay, so that's dumb to me.
What, to play them?
Yes.
Okay, like, my wife said the same thing. And I'm like, okay, but this is an easy home and home. You don't have to pay Sam Houston to come in. No?
Nah, man. Our priorities aren't in the right place. That's what I'm saying. I'm letting Coach know. If I'm the athletic director, Coach, I get it. I want to beat Texas too. That means a lot for the program. We're on our little brother stuff. But it'd be nice if we got some weekend victories here. They go play South Alabama, and they're out here getting run ruled, but they want to go and put their best players against Texas and their best pitchers on a Tuesday night. Our priorities ain't in the right place, Chip. That's all I'm saying. You see Schloss yesterday? Schloss could care less. We're going to play the win, but you didn't see the Binger out there. You didn't see Jason Flores out there. All these guys. Dylan Valantis didn't play last night. So all these guys that could have gotten bumped because we want to win so bad didn't, and we let these young whippersnappers get out there and get some run and get some experience. And again, 2 different programs that are in 2 completely different places. But also, I don't know the coach's name down there, Texas State. I think he was under Jim Schlossnagle back.
Ty Harrington. Well, no. Oh, yeah. The new coach was under Jim Schlossnagle as an assistant.
Yeah.
And played for him.
Okay, that's what it was. Played for him.
He played for him.
At TCU, right?
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. So again, prideful. I want to be the man that's taught me so much, the guy that's given me this opportunity. Prideful. I get it. But you can't be out here getting run ruled against Southern Alabama and stuff and losing the series. You got to get our priorities right, Coach. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's a weird look. And if I was
that
the
started.
director at State,
That started when Ty Harrington was the coach at Texas State. Ty Harrington, of course, played baseball at Texas.
that's my man.
And so it was like let's do it, So now you've got Steven Trout as the coach at Texas State, who was a player for Schlossnagle at TCU. So it'll probably continue. But I get the Texas fans who are like, why are we playing these busters? Like, I get it. But
what do you mean busters? Because they're good?
Well, no, because they're beneath Texas.
I mean, you got to play.
Is that what you were saying? Why were you upset about Texas playing Texas State?
I'm not upset about Texas playing Texas State. I'm not upset at all. I'm saying, hypothetical, if I was a Texas State fan, if I was a huge diehard Texas State baseball fan, I'm a little salty that we're out here playing the big gun weekend guys when we're out here getting run ruled during the weekend, but we want to play Texas all hard and stuff. It doesn't translate. Like playing Texas, why don't we keep that same energy too? Like where's the fallout here? Why do we get up for big games and stuff where we got guys getting hype and talking mess, and they got that weird starting closer dude that loves to talk, after the home game for Texas against Texas State, the one that threw him out in the game.
That's a shimmy?
Yeah, he was just shimmying and throwing the horns down, and he did the thumbs down for A&M when they went up to College Station and beat them. And it's like, okay, cool. But we're out here struggling in our own conference, though. Why isn't this winning mentality carrying over to the weekend?
Right.
Coach, that's coaching.
Come on,
Steven
Coach. Trout.
Come on, Trout. Come on.
What you got?
That's bad fish, Trout.
What you mean?
That was a bad joke there, but you feel me?
Hey, I feel you. I want to know.
Nigga was doing that. Come on.
Shoot.
We got bigger fish to fry. Bigger trout to fry.
I think Schloss is going to be breaking some more Aggie hearts this weekend.
See, it scares me. This is a scary time.
Scary time,
but you know.
Let's just say the pitching's got to be. Last night the pitching was atrocious.
Yeah, but you have the third string.
I know, but
bench warmers.
It still should have been better than that. Like, this is your opportunity. You get one chance, one opportunity.
Is that Eminem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that Eminem?
I'm just making sure.
You get one chance, one opportunity. You know it's going to be Johnny Allstaff on the mound, and Grayson Sonier, gave up 2 runs on 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. Then Bryce Navarre, who's been struggling, comes in for 2/3 of an inning, gives up 2 runs on 2 hits, 2 strikeouts. Hudson Hamilton gave up a run on 2 hits. Connor McCreary gave up 2 runs on no hits because he walked a guy and hit a guy. And then I think they tagged him for a home run. But yeah, man, they gotta make sure that pitching's on point.
Yeah. And
that guy,
Tommy Farmer the fourth, you can't be getting thrown out, being a little greedy, trying to, get a little space to maybe steal later. They caught him smooth criminal. That was a
Picked off.
bad look. That might be one of my biggest pet peeves in baseball. That's
Getting
just
picked off.
getting picked off. It's so uncomfortable. I can't stand it. Like, it doesn't matter who's playing. If it's my team or if it's just some random dudes playing baseball on the sandlot. Like, there just has to be some awareness there. You know, it's too hard to get on base in general to be getting picked off like that.
Well, and Coach 420 is saying, hey, come on, none of these guys that pitched yesterday are even a thought to pitch this weekend. No, I know. That's why they pitched last night, but that was an opportunity for them. Because look at what Jason Flores did. He turned his Tuesday night into better things. And now we're seeing a little bit more from Grayson Saunier. He parlayed a couple of appearances. Hell, they brought in Ethan Walker. After he made his first appearance last Tuesday night, they brought in Ethan Walker against Auburn for a lefty-lefty matchup. So you can earn more playing time by, making the most of these opportunities. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Saunier and Burns, those are the only guys that I could see moving forward as of now on getting significant minutes or significant, pitches.
I thought Cody Howard was okay.
I'm going to need to see more from him. Maybe Prairie View.
Thought he was good. He pitched 1 1/3, gave up 1 hit, no runs.
You got Prairie View coming in next week. Them brothers can't play no baseball. So put them in then. Put them in then.
Dang.
Come on.
You got Prairie View coming in. Them brothers can't play no baseball, Zay said.
Them brothers can't play, man. Bring them in. Throw in the same type of lineup that you had in this past week and let them get those reps there. But, yeah, the Tuesday night games, you only got 2 more.
Right.
Prairie View, Lamar.
We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Yeah, they'll play the Aggies, then they go to Arkansas. Then they get Florida here. And then they go to OU. All right. Let me ask you this. Since we're down to the final 2 practices of spring football, give me 3 players you're excited about.
3 players I'm excited about. Parker Livingstone.
Okay. White chocolate.
Yeah, let's get it.
You're higher on him than I am.
I'm very high on Parker Livingstone. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this Emmett Mosley, the 5th starter stuff. I respect Hank. I respect you too. But I respect Parker Livingstone also. Parker Livingstone might have something to say about it. I'm just telling you. Might have something to say about it. Brad Spence. And last but not least, I would say Kobe Black.
Yeah.
I think Kobe Black has tremendous upside. We saw a little snippet of him last year, especially in that Vanderbilt game. And you're like, okay, here we go. Kobe Black as a freshman, getting some bump. Waco Conley. Always have good players coming out of that, school and stuff. So
at one point, Kobe Black and Jelani McDonald were the starting corners for Waco Conley.
Yeah, we running the whole game. Why would we throw it? I don't care if we have a horrible running back. Like, why would you throw it in those situations? That must have been tough. Like, you're telling me I got school for 8 hours. I just had one of the toughest chemistry tests of my life. And now I got to go out and try to complete passes on Kobe Black and Ryan McDonald. All right.
That's so
Cool.
true, Zay. That's so true, man. Friday nights, you
Friday
just spent
night,
the whole
brutal.
day at school.
Yeah. So I think Kobe Black's very underrated. I know Jalen Gilbo is getting some work at one of the outside corner spots. You mentioned yesterday about Derek Williams possibly being the slot corner, being that guy to play the nickel. And again, when you have versatility like this throughout your whole ball club, especially in the secondary, it allows Pete Kwiatkowski, Dwayne Akina, and Mark Orfe to really move guys around to see what fits best. And again, what we see throughout the season, what you see game one, is obviously not what you're going to see when you play your last game of the season. Like, they're going to experiment. We saw that with Leon Galafau, who didn't start to begin the season. It was David Benda, and halfway through, Leon Galafau was alongside Anthony Hill. So guys are going to continue to be moved around, but I think Kobe Black, again, has a lot of upside, and it's going to be hard to get him off the field. So that, seeing the rotation, seeing the fact that this coaching staff didn't go after a corner, didn't go after a safety in the transfer portal, that makes me excited. That gives a lot of optimism for the secondary, who's young and unproven, but it shows you that Sark and them like what the room already has. So guys like Kobe Black, and I could have named a lot more guys that I'm excited about. I think, as Rodney's saying, like Colin Simmons, like, yes, obviously we're excited about Colin Simmons, but I wanted to go with some of the more underground guys that might surprise some people when I'm thinking about Parker Livingstone, Brad Spence, and a player like Kobe Black.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably should have said newcomers or guys trying to push into the two deep who you're excited about. Because obviously Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons,
like Mookie Taft, like of course.
Arch Manning, but no, I think Brad Spence is a good pick. I would say I'm very excited about Emmett Mosley, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. That dude's hungry, man. I can feel it.
How could you feel his hunger?
Because I watched the film.
Okay.
I see how hard he works to get open on 4th and goal and 4th and 3 at the 13 to score a touchdown, and that catch he had against Cal where the guy's completely shielding him from the ball and he still makes the catch. I think this guy is, and he had this amazing toe drag catch in the red zone against NC State where they ruled him out of bounds at first and then they went back and reviewed it. And it was like, oh my God, this guy got his foot down, So you can tell that guy he loves it. And that ball's in the air. It's his. And, he ran a 11, 4.7, 100. Like, okay, so he's not a 10 guy. He's not a 10.7, 10.6 guy. Little Jordan Humphrey ran a 4.75 at the combine.
That's it.
And that's why he didn't get drafted. And little Jordan Humphrey's still in the league. Because he's smart, he's hungry, he's big, he knows how to wall off defenders. And yeah, I think Emmett Mosley is a 6'2" version of Lil Jordan Humphrey. And then this guy, Endries, we're excited about him. But let's focus on the guys who are on campus. So I'll say Day McCutcheon, Dalen McCutcheon. So Tuesday, I asked Sark about the young receivers, and I mentioned Michael Terry, Kalik Lockett, and Jamie French, and he goes, don't forget about – in fact, I think we have it.
Yeah, let's play that. I got it right here queued up.
All right.
Yeah, so I think these young guys, I feel for them in some capacity. These four guys came in and they really didn't have a lot of models to look at. Wingo had about 3 practices and then tweaked his hamstring. DeAndre Moore's been out, all spring. He's been doing, light work. And so they've been having to learn, kind of trial by fire, in essence. And so they're getting such valuable reps right now. And you can see the growth, but like a lot of young players, it's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And then it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And now more than ever is them, you just finished practice 13. We probably have very few guys that don't have a bump, a bruise, a nick somewhere. And so now they're fighting through, man, how do I compartmentalize? My body's not quite 100%, but I need to be mentally 100% and execute those calls. But I've been impressed with those guys. You can definitely see the skill set of all of them. And you can start to see the guys that are picking it up maybe a little quicker than others. And the thing that I'm hopeful that we got a little of today and we get the next 2 days is when their opportunities come, that their natural instincts start to really kick in now and they start making plays on the ball. I don't expect them to be 100% yet. This is a lot. And you guys have been around us, know, the young receivers, it's a process to get them ready to play. But when the ball's in the air, that their instincts and their natural ability really starts to come to fold. And we saw some of that today. I'm really, kind of looking forward to that here Thursday and Saturday to, allow these guys to play some. And if they're wrong, they're wrong. That's okay. We can coach that. But who's going to go make some plays? Who's going to make the play on the ball in the 50-50, those contested catches, third down, red area, those types of things. Yeah. So I think these young guys.
So they clipped the question, but I said, I asked, and he goes, "Don't forget about Dalen McCutcheon," and then he went into his thing. The freshman receivers, and the fact that they didn't have a veteran in there every day at spring practice on the field with them. And that's where Sark has leaned on Arch. I mean, Sark said, we're asking more of Arch, of his leadership, like to coach these guys between plays. Like, Arch, I'll say it again. Arch is, and now obviously with Jack Endries and Emmett Mosley coming in, Arch is going to have to do more with less this year. Now, this team may come together in a way that it's amazing, even without a guy like Kelvin Banks, without a proven guy like Matt Golden, blah, blah, blah. But 4 new starters on the offensive line, none of them named Kelvin Banks. He's having to coach guys in the spring. So, I mean, Arch is capable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's like overloaded, but they're leaning on him for a lot. And he's Arch Manning. So he'll probably rise to the occasion. Yeah. But I'm not crazy.
Vet last year for the wide receivers? Who was the vet last year for the wide receivers? Was it?
Well, Golden was there in the spring.
Yeah, but he had to learn himself.
Yeah, he did.
Bond, both of those guys coming in as transfers, they had to learn the
Texas system.
Yeah, the system, and also it's hard to be that leader when you're new too. So I guess DeAndre Moore might have been that last year a little bit, but again, this time last year, unproven. So He's kind of basing his leadership off of what he learned from Jordan Whittington and all of these things. So That's right. A lot is on Arch for sure. But I think all these guys that are in, all these freshmen, that's why being an early enrollee gives you a significant advantage. They've been a college kid for a while now. We're almost done with April. They've been here for 4 months. So the Michael Terrys, Khalid Lockett, Jamie French, Dede McCutcheon, all those guys, I'm sure they're hungry and eager to continue to show these coaches what they could do, but they're not too far off from some of these other guys that have been here, even Emmett Mosley. Like, and now that you got DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo just chilling due to injuries with spring ball and stuff, like, I think it's just going to allow these guys to improve at a faster rate because
they've been through all these practices. Yeah. So the let's put it this way, the product on the field this spring without the veterans at receiver, it's been choppy. Just what Sark said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's been choppy. But you're right. This experience should help all these guys once we get to fall camp. And then you're going to have DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo, Emmett Mosley, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the field working, pushing. Then we'll know.
Yeah.
And I think at running back, we got to see it from CJ Baxter. I think everyone's optimistic and expecting him to pick up where he left off and be better.
Yeah.
Because his freshman year, he came from a gap scheme. He wasn't comfortable running the zone. And that's the bread and butter of Texas's running game under Sarkisian is the inside-outside zone, especially the outside zone. So he's got to be better because I'm telling you, some of these guys, Christian Clark, James Simon, they're coming for it. Quintravian Wisner's the man. And
he's going to have to be a huge.
Your guy, Michael Griffin, identified Quintravian Wisner right away as a recruit. He's like, watch out for Wisner. I'm like, okay. He was right.
Just a football player, man.
Yeah.
Like, we saw that at the
Probably reminded of himself.
I could
Michael
see
he was a running back too, right? At Bowie?
Yeah, he was a running back. Just kind of jack all trades, Swiss Army knife type of guy, just like Quintravian Wisner was. Like, goes to DeSoto, even though he's technically a running back, he played a lot of wide receiver for that state championship team. So I think Quintravian Wisner, his leadership, it's going to have to go up another notch too, because Arch, Trey Wisner, DJ Campbell, Cole Hudson, all those guys that got minutes last year where the overhaul is out of this world for the offense, those guys are going to be looked upon to keep everything calm, keep everything, according to plan, running in the right, smooth fashion. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you going to look at when things get hectic, when it's 100,000 yelling at you in Columbus? Those guys that have been there and done that, you're going to need them. Like DJ Campbell, I'm really excited about him. I thought it was a very big deal for him to come back for another season and be one of those lone returning offensive linemen. I think he's going to be good this year. Now he doesn't have to worry about Cole Hudson coming in and taking some of his reps and stuff. Like, that gives you a certain comfort as a player that, like, okay, I'm going to be playing the whole game. So,
well, and it's a contract year. It's a contract year for DJ. Like, the guys he came in with are starting to leave, and now it's hitting home with him that, like, okay, it's time to go earn some money.
Yeah.
And that tends to bring the focus in a little bit tighter. Yeah. Get you a little more motivation.
Yeah. Let's hear what Sark had to say about the offensive line yesterday or the day before when y'all interviewed him.
Yeah, we've recruited that position pretty well over the years. There was the class that kind of started it with those 7 guys in it. And from there, I think we've brought in players that have kind of fit the profile of the players at the position, guys with high character, guys that fit the stature, whether they're interior players or tackle body types. Kyle's a really good teacher. And again, I think that as much as, we've been fortunate over the past couple of years, we've played a pretty consistent group of guys. Those other guys have been working at their craft, and they're getting challenged, obviously, every single day. The tackles are. We've got some really good edge rushers, and then the interior guys are with some of the young players in our program that are growing, but also some of the transfers that have come in. So it's a heck of a challenge. I would say there's always room for growth, and they're a little bit of kind of you can put a spotlight on the O-line, which really would hold true for our entire team. Our strain to finish needs to improve up there, and it's different when you're actually playing as opposed to when you're practicing. And so we're really this week trying to strain to finish. And we're trying to finish spring ball, but we're trying to finish every rep. And what does that look like so these guys can understand the intensity that they need to play with. There's a physical intensity, but there's a mental intensity that they got to play with, and that's not just in the run game, that's in pass protection as well. So big point of emphasis for those guys this week. Yeah,
you got, Kelvin Banks worked at a different standard, and Jake Majors worked at a different standard. Like, having those guys around whipping everybody. Now Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell, they got to be those guys. And, Trevor Goosby's he's going to become that guy, but he doesn't have starts like those guys have. And so everybody's got to hold that whole group to the highest standard. And it's one thing when you have a first round draft pick on that line setting the tone, that that kind of leadership is hard to replace. So that's a work in progress. That's one of those matchups for Ohio State on August 30th that you're like, oh, we might be seeing Arch's athleticism come into play. Let's see how well they can protect him, because if they can't and Arch has to go make some yards on his own, that's a good thing. It's not good if he's having to run for his life every play, but it's good that you have that, because Sark has said over and over again, this is a new take for Sark. Sark used to say, we don't want our quarterbacks running. He sure didn't want Quinn running, but he's saying now we need to lean on Arch's athleticism, which is his way of saying, if he needs to go scramble for 3 yards on 3rd and 3, go get it, big boy. And I think Arch is instinctive in a good way when it comes to running. We saw it in the Georgia game. In his very limited 8 minutes in the second quarter of that game, everything, closed up down the field. He saw a crease and he goes for 21 yards. It was the longest run of the game. And so that's only going to get more natural, more instinctive as he plays more. But he's got that. We know that. So that's the ace in your back pocket this year that you haven't played in the past.
Yeah, that's another thing about the transfer portal that they didn't go after any offensive line guys. They're completely comfortable with the crew that they have in now. Like Kyle Flood, Steve Sarkisian, they like what they got. They also like the 2 deep. So whoever gets hurt, God forbid, but we saw it last year. If somebody needs to miss a couple of games, can you come in and contribute and still be productive exactly where we left off when we were completely healthy? I think they could do that. So what? Starting offensive, go ahead.
Well, you're hearing guys names like Nick Brooks, Nate Kibble, Andre Kojo. You've got Connor Robertson, but you've also got Daniel Cruz. Like, they love Daniel Cruz. So he needs to keep learning the offense. And
for the center spot mostly?
Yeah, it's center. Cruz has the body. They're just trying to get his mind to where where he's totally comfortable making all the calls, protections, whatever. And because they love his body as a center. And you still got Connor Robertson, you're 3 deep at center. And then, like I said, you got Neto, but you've got Jaden Chapman behind him. You got DJ Campbell, but you got Nate Kibble behind him. Like, these guys are coming. They're going to be players. Brandon Baker, he may get the start, but Andre Kojo's capable of starting. They all need experience. They all need that grind, but that group is going to come. It's just starting off against Ohio State, man. Show us what you got. That. Show us what you got.
Early.
And then you really have, you got a couple games at home, and then you're on the road the entire month of October.
Yeah.
The entire month of October. You're not playing one game at DKR. So, they got to grow up.
Okay,
fast.
So this is your starting 5 on the offensive line. Left tackle, we got Trevor Gooseby.
Yes, sir.
Left guard, we got Neto.
Yes, sir.
Center, we got Cole Hudson.
Yes, sir.
Right guard, we got DJ Campbell.
Yes, sir.
Right tackle, we got Brandon Baker.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay.
Yep. You want to go over these grades? I keep laughing to myself because you're like, a lot of A's.
Nah, we can go over them. I'm just, let the folks subscribe to Horn 24/7 so they can go see it themselves. But, we can go over it. I'm just, there's a lot of A's, my guy.
I know.
A lot of A's out there. So, you're getting me hype. I'm pumped up seeing all them A's. But also, I got to see it.
Because we got old Coach 420 over here. He's like, I'm not buying into these guys. Oh, this is John Vader. Sorry. I got used to these purple circles. John Vader says, I'm not buying into any of these transfer dudes till I see it in a game. Okay, well, I've seen it in a game because I've watched their film. And these dudes are going to be like, let's start with Murad Watson, okay? Murad Watson, freshman All-American at defensive tackle. Here's the thing I love about him, okay? Yeah, he had 31 tackles as a freshman, which is a lot for a interior defensive lineman. He had a sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. What I need from Murad Watson is to hold the point of attack, get into gaps, screw up the running game, and that's what he does. Okay, here's the thing that probably I didn't even put this in the grades. This was in a different story I wrote yesterday about how landing these 5 defensive tackles, Texas is now SEC ready again at the defensive tackle position. And the thing I liked most about Murad Watson is the fact that he had, so Pro Football Focus has a statistic that they keep called a stop. And a stop is a play that is a failure it's a tackle that constitutes a failure for the offense. Okay. Murad Watson had 15 stops last year. Cole Brevard had 13. Okay. Cole Brevard, who last year was a 4th-year player. This year he's going to be a 5th-year player for Texas. Jermaine Lole had 15. Murad Watson had 15 as a freshman. That's where he's sensing where the play is going. He's getting into that gap. It's canceled, forcing the run to bounce. And it's a failure for the offense. His run defense grade from Pro Football Focus, you love Pro Football Focus, was higher than anyone else's on the Texas roster last year, except for Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton. He had a run defense grade of 77.5. That's awesome. That's higher than Jermaine Lole. That's higher than Bill Norton. Like, this guy, I'll be shocked if he's not the opening day starter with Cole Brevard. And
no, that's impressive. It's just ACC, SEC, a little different, but that's impressive. Impressive. I'll give him that.
This guy's got that. He's got that dog in him. So that's why I gave him an A.
Okay.
Okay. I gave Cole Brevard an A because Cole Brevard has got that experience. He knows what he's looking at.
They were 1-11. Experience.
Listen, you didn't let me finish.
Okay.
I'm also hearing it from within the Texas team, like that this dude is hard to move.
Okay.
He's hard to move. He can hold the point of attack. He's played a lot of nose tackle where you've got to take on the double team and you can't go backwards. You got to hold the point of attack against 2 dudes and even split that double team and make the play. And I'm hearing Cole Brevard can do that. So he gets an A.
All right.
Okay.
He's really going to have to prove me something because that's, man, that Purdue team was sad as hell. So I hope that dude's a player because where he came from, wow. He's never seen winning in his life.
Well, he had 16 quarterback pressures last year and 2 sacks. Alfred Collins had 18 quarterback pressures and 1 sack.
Okay.
So he's not only a guy who can stuff the run, but he can split the double team and make a play here and there. I don't need big numbers from my interior defensive lineman. I need no running game. All right. Jack Endries, tight end, California. 2 years of eligibility remaining. Guy just caught 56 balls for 623 yards and 2 touchdowns at Cal as a redshirt sophomore. If you watch the film, he knows how to get open against zone. He knows where to sit down on a route. He's not afraid to catch the ball in traffic. And, you know, he's a security blanket. 6'4". You know, he's not 6'6" like Gunner, but he's a smart guy. You know, that's the other thing. They're bringing in high football IQ guys. They're not bringing in dudes from, you know, podunk directional U. They're bringing dudes in from Stanford and Cal.
Yeah. Smart guys.
Smart guys.
Intelligent.
Okay, so what would you give Jack Endries as a grade?
Probably a B+.
B+, okay.
B+. I like his game, but former walk-on, that scares me a little bit. Yeah,
Mookie Taft.
That's right. That's completely fair, but not everybody's Mookie Taft. So I just, at Cal, didn't make a bowl game last year. It's tough. Same thing with Cole Brevard.
3 different offensive coordinators in 3 years.
It's tough. Yeah, it's not Jack Endries' fault. So hopefully he could come into this system and be a big time player and pick up where JT Sanders and Gunnar Helm left off. But let's not sleep on our boy Spencer Shannon. Like, you already off Spencer Shannon? You've been high on Spencer Shannon?
No, I'm not off on him. I'm not off on him. I'm high on a guy who's done it and, has that comfort, that familiarity. And they're going to play. Spencer Shannon's going to play. Jordan Washington's going to play. Emory Winston's going to play. Like, they run 2 tight end sets. And just like Juan Davis was the complimentary tight end to Gunnar Helm, you're going to see when Spencer Shannon's in, he'll be the inline guy, and Endries will, move around. When Emory Winston's in or Jordan Washington's in, you'll see Endries as the inline guy and those guys moving around. And Sark will have a little bit of something for everybody, because we know Sark loves that drag route with the tight end. He also loves that delay, that block or look like you're about to block and release.
Yeah. Oh, Gunnar Helm made a killing off that this past year.
That's the play that beat Arizona State in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
And okay, all right. So you say B plus. Let's move on here. Okay, now we're at my man Emmett Mosley, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. I gave him an A because the dude, all he did as a freshman.
You like Oprah, man. You get an A, you get an A, you get an A. Like, damn.
Well, and I gave an A to Brad Spence too. You know why?
I like that one.
Because he had, he was a playmaker as a linebacker. He also had 6 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, including a sack against Texas. That dude's everywhere. That was a big loss for Arkansas. Like, I talked to the people at Arkansas. They're like, that dude he's about to be the man. And here's the thing about Brad Spence. He's the replacement for Anthony Hill. 26. Like, you need a dude that can, now you're spoiled because you've had Anthony Hill. Anthony Hill could do anything. Anthony Hill had 4 forced fumbles on top of his interception. Should have been a pick 6 if Trey Moore didn't block that dude in the back. And all the sacks and tackles for loss that Anthony Hill has. Anthony Hill's so special. It's like, that dude he's just special.
Yeah, this is it. Don't expect him to come back for 2026. It ain't happening. Like, that's just a waste of time. Like, see him now, cherish him now, bask in it, because this is the last year Anthony Hill is going to play as a Texas Longhorn. Colin Simmons got 2 years left, by the way.
Huh?
Colin Simmons got 2 years left.
Right.
Yeah. So
you get to enjoy Colin Simmons, 25 and 26.
Yeah.
But that number 0 jersey at Texas has become a thing. DeMarvion Overshown. Now you got Anthony Hill. I don't know that I'm seeing enough 0 jerseys out there.
Your boy, what's my man's name? Former BYU quarterback, stunk it up with the Jets.
Oh, yeah. Pretty boy.
Zach
Wilson.
Zach Wilson. He's number 0 for the Miami Dolphins. That change your mind on zeros?
No, I'm talking about 0. I'm talking about 0 for Texas.
Okay.
Because you've gone from DeMarvion Overshown to Anthony Hill. You even got DeAndre Moore rocking the 0. So I think it's cool that DeMarvion Overshown got the Cowboys to unlock 0. They'd never issued it as a jersey number.
Yeah.
Overshown got him to do it.
Yeah, I hope he can get back healthy, man. I hate all the things that he's gone through. He plays so hard. He's such a good guy. He earned that job this past year, and
Oh yeah,
he was killing before he got injured. Like, he was a force.
killing.
But it happens. That's a part of the game. So,
all right, so you'd give Spence an A.
yeah, I'll give that an A.
But you would not give Emmett Mosley the fifth an A.
Nah, he's a B.
B?
He's a B, yeah. Yeah, he's a B.
3 fourth down touchdowns.
No, it's
6
solid.
touchdowns, breaks the freshman record at Stanford.
Yo, B's get degrees too. I ain't saying he was an F. Like,
All right.
just know that he's in the battle. I hope he doesn't think that, oh, I got this NIL money. I'm the missing link.
His mom won the
doesn't think
Heisman in soccer. He ain't slowing down.
All right. I just hope he understands that.
He's like you. He comes from good genes.
True. But my genes never really, came to play in a way that it should. I underachieved. Let's just say that.
Okay, at least you're honest.
Oh, yeah, I'm honest. I'm
Yeah.
honest. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? Y'all tried to clown me. I saw someone trying to clown me earlier when I was talking about my man Burt. Rex tried to clown me. I ain't forget Rex. Zay's never shot free throws in front of more than his friends and family. What does he know about field goal pressure? Hey, put me on the line when the game matters. Other than my sophomore year, Austin High, I came through. So again, you're right. I don't know what Burt Auburn went through or what Mason Shipley is going to have to go through, but don't knock your boy Zay, man. I was clutch when you needed me to be. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Jack Bowmeister averaged 44 yards. He actually averaged 45 yards as a junior, 44.7 last year at punter. What are you giving him?
That's an A.
Okay.
Yeah. Aussie boy.
Mason Shipley, I gave him a B+.
That's fair. I'll let him stay with that.
B+ just because he's got to do it in front of a SEC crowd every Saturday.
Yeah. Well, that pressure's on you. Yeah, it's a different ball game when that pressure's on you, baby. Hell yeah.
I gave Lavon Johnson and Hero Canoe B's. I gave Travis Shaw a B-.
What?
What you mean?
He's the only 5-star high schooler in this group.
Dude, he's got a bad wheel like me.
Not like you, but he's got
not like me. He got a bad wheel. They got to manage. He's practicing. And when he's right, he's good. So they need to keep him fresh and keep him right. So he'll rotate and hopefully he'll be as impactful as Bill Norton or Jermaine Lole, because he's going to be in that second wave like Norton and Lole. Yeah. But if they can go 3 deep, as soon as Josiah Sharma, Myron Charles, Melvin Hills, as soon as those dudes are ready, they'll be in there. And if you can rotate 3 and 4 deep, man, you're ahead of the game.
Why didn't you say Justice Terry? What happened? Why you say his name?
Well, they're using him at strong side defensive end right now. And then when he's ready, oh, hell. Justice Terry is going to be a monster.
Oh, he might be ready week 1. Just might
you know how I know that?
Because
Colin Simmons said it. Colin Simmons doesn't hand out candy. And he handed out some candy to Justice Terry.
Yeah, because he sees them every day because they're working together, edge rushers. So, again, if Justice Terry needs to be an edge rusher, so be it. We'll take it. If he could dominate that position,
Yeah, if
especially
he's the
with
next Baron Sorrell, great.
with Ethan Burke leaving and stuff the following year. If he can't put on that weight where you thought he was going to be a impactful defensive tackle, so be it.
Put some lead in his ass.
That's what I'm saying. Just where he could be useful, where he could dominate, find a spot for him. Figure it out, Pete Kwiatkowski. That's why you get paid millions too. You know what I'm saying? By the way, Rex, I was shooting like 77% for my career. You know, I wasn't that guy that went and shot the technical free throw. I wasn't that good, but you didn't want to foul me either. You know what I'm saying? So 77, you'll take that. You'll take that.
If you got fouled at crunch time, you were like, sucker, watch me make these.
Yeah, I'm knocking it down.
You think I'm some forward who can't make no free throws?
Yeah, man. Take a deep breath. Go through the routine.
You and I need to have a free throw shooting contest.
Yeah. Where are we having this? Because it has to be official. We can't be going no Ruthie Poot, bootleg ass outdoor court with a double rim.
We'll go to Bowie High School. We'll go right into your lion's den.
See, I won't even have home court advantage because they got a brand new gym that I never played in. So it's not like the home court. For you?
Yeah.
Hit up Sean
I
Miller.
need some advantage. I'm 57.
Hit up Sean Miller. Hit up Sean Miller. Let's get a key to the facilities. We go in there, Kevin Durant Practice Center or Vic Schaefer, either or, and get them shots up, man. I'm down.
Okay. All right. So how do you feel about the B for Levon Johnson, Hero Canoe, and the B- for Travis Shaw?
I'm good with it. I wish Travis Shaw's grade was higher, but I understand why you put that. Again, bum wheel. So that kind of scares me. But like we said, if you get dude right where he's healthy, tremendous upside. You just got to figure out what makes him tick. Kenny Baker, Pete Kwiatkowski. Again, that's why y'all get paid the big bucks to figure that out. Mac Brown couldn't figure it out. Maybe that was the injury aspect, or maybe it was just because what he was supposed to be coming out of high school hasn't checked out there yet. So I think when I see Travis Shaw, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I think that he can be a difference. It's just about him staying healthy or not.
Can you beat me in swimming the way Sean did?
Hell no.
Okay, good.
Damn, he beat you in swimming like that?
So we did the Sean and Chip Olympics. Man, I'll have to find it. They're probably still on YouTube. We did golf. We did bowling. We did swimming. We did weightlifting, which he won. That was stupid. We did all kinds of stuff, but like I didn't train for swimming, and I found out he was training, and he beat me. And I was like, I thought brothers weren't supposed to swim.
Yes, yo.
Which is crazy now, because if you watch the NCAA championships, all the guys winning are brothers.
Really?
Oh yeah. Tennessee, their whole relay team was brothers, and they won. Oh yeah.
They need to check them brothers for juicing or something. That ain't right. Something's off there. Something's off there. They hitting the same stuff that Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire were hitting back in '98.
What's wrong with you?
Brothers winning swimming. Something's fishy.
Hey man, scholarship.
So
free education.
Well, I mean, yeah, good for them, but also
if I had a body like some of those dudes, I'd be swimming my ass off.
Yeah, but
we got shoulders as wide as the football field.
just like Oklahoma softball, they need to test them. That's all I'm saying. Some fishy's going on there.
Some fishy.
You know, some fishy.
All right, let's get a couple mentions here. Let's get into the commentary.
Hold on, we got to do our $50 gift card.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I'm
so Zay's going to ask a question. Okay. $50 gift card to Cabo Bob's. $50 gift card to Cabo Bob's. Be the first person to answer this question correctly, either on the YouTube comments or on the
just the Coda.
Oh, sorry. Just the Coda text line. So you have to send in your answer to 512-222-9328. 512-222-9328. You have to send in your answer to that number. All right, Zay, what is the question for the $50 Cabo Bob gift card?
Yeah, make y'all do a little research today. Ain't gonna be no walk in the park. All right. How many former Texas Longhorns are currently in the NBA playoffs? Give us the number and give us the names of the players. How many former Texas players that played basketball are currently playing in the NBA playoffs? They just got to be on the roster. I don't care about minutes or nothing like that. And let us know the names of those players.
All right. There you go. Hey, and listen, if you're looking to do a little renovating, maybe a bathroom, a kitchen, some extended outdoor space, and give Mike McCall a call, because Mike McCall has been part of McCall Custom Homes, family-owned and operated business for 40 years, building custom homes in Austin, Texas, and he wants to add value to your house. He wants to mix his vision with your vision and make it the best it can possibly be, whether it's a bathroom renovation, a kitchen renovation, and you want to work with people you like in these situations. And Mike is a likable guy who cares about you loving the work that he does. So go to McCallCustomHomesATX.com and set up an appointment. You know, bring him in, talk visions, and then make your decision from there. But you're going to be happy, because Mike McCall, he's all about making sure that the details are right, getting you the kitchen, the bathroom, the extended outdoor space that you want so that you love your house. That's what it's all about. McCallCustomHomesATX.com. And for my guys who are snoring, we got to get you to the Sleep Cycle Center for a sleep study. Here's the beautiful thing. You go to Sleep Cycles, go to sleepcyclecenters.com. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study. Our man, Dr. Chad, who is the founder, CEO of Sleep Cycle Center, got into it because his dad died of sleep apnea at the age of 60. And he never wants anyone else to experience that. And so he's committed his life to having the best technology, the best treatment options, so that if you have sleep apnea, you're not going to risk your life over it. But you got to get the information first. So go to sleepcyclecenters.com. Take the questionnaire. Start there. It's free, but set up an appointment. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study, because they want you to do the sleep study so that they can evaluate what's going on with you. If you're not getting enough oxygen while you're sleeping, it's causing you to wake up. You don't even know it. You're not getting good rest. You're waking up tired. You're cranky. And again, you don't want it to get to the point where you're gasping for air. because I have sleep apnea. I have an oral appliance. I call it my mouth guard. It holds my lower jaw open and I don't snore. That's what it's all about. And I'm getting good sleep. So get to sleepcyclecenters.com. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They got locations in Lakeway and in the Arboretum. All right. And Tom McKay, when you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, you know the number to call, 255-8678. He's going to bring you the best price on big screens. He's going to bring you surround sound, surveillance, electronic shades, new lighting. He's been doing it for 30 years in Austin. He's put big screens into 3 different houses for me. Love the guy, swear by him. Give him a call, 255-8678. And of course, cover three, let's go. I mean, Zay is going to tell you probably about the NBA. Go watch the NBA playoffs at Cover 3. You know what I mean? Watch your favorite team, but the food, you're going to love it. The vibe, it's the best. Sean Adams prime rib sandwich, RIP, my man Sean Adams. He lived at Cover 3. We called him the mayor of Cover 3. That's why he's got a sandwich named after him. So get over to Cover 3 Anderson, Cover 3 Round Rock up there off Old Settlers, and Cover 2 183 in Lake Creek. Tell them Chip and Zay sent you. You know what I'm saying? All right, Zay, let's get to the commentary. By the way, do we have a right answer?
We do have a right answer. So this was kind of a trick question because the Texas social media team for basketball, they put out a graphic saying the number of players who are in the playoffs. Now, it was a week ago, so it was 8. But I said currently in the playoffs, that doesn't count the play-in games. The Mavs did not make the playoffs. They made the play-in game. So it's 7. So CB, sorry, bro, you didn't win it. Whoever this is, I'll type
they got to include their name.
They got to include the name. They did all that. The person that won it. But CB was quick. CB put 8. We ain't counting Kai Jones. Sorry. He ain't playing. He's in the plan. Correct answer was 7. Jackson Hayes, Jared Allen, Tristan Thompson, Corey Joseph, PJ Tucker, Miles Turner, and who am I missing? Who the hell is Tyson? I don't know who the hell this is. The correct answer is 7, though. So I'm going to give it to that person. Congratulations. That might have been Steven. I don't know. Steven, if that was you, let me know. Let me type this in real quick.
Okay. All right.
All right, Chip, let's go.
All right. For the chip shot today, I'm going to talk about the fact that no spring game. I'm okay with it. I would like to have seen the youngins out there doing their thing, but I think that Steve Sarkisian made the right decision. 27 newcomers. Some of these guys, like we talked about the young receivers, not having a veteran to lead them. So there's been up days, down days, sideways days. It's, I would say the receiver position during spring ball, I would give it a C. There you go, Zay. You want a grade? I'd give it a C. Maybe even no, I'll give it a C. I'll give it a C. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like there's a Xavier Worthy in there yet. Like Xavier Worthy, he picked up on everything so fast. Like think back to his freshman year. It was crazy. He had 900 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. The guy was uncanny. Of course, he had 4 touchdown catches just against OU alone or something. But anyway, yeah, I'm not like I couldn't tell you right now who's going to break out of that group. Michael Terry, Jamie French, Khalid Lockett, Day-Day McCutcheon of the 4 freshman receivers. I couldn't tell you right now. Like they're a work in progress. So I'm okay. I'm okay with the no spring game this year. Would I like to have it? Yeah, just because I'm a football junkie and I love every chance I get to see what is going on. If we're okay, the position group I'd like to see most in a spring game would be the secondary. Because I heard Santana Wilson had an interception at practice yesterday. Another one. He's had a lot. That Warren Roberson has been all over the place. Malik Muhammad and Jalen Gilbo, obviously the vets. But everyone's looking at those youngins coming. And Cade Phillips. I want to see my boy Cade Phillips, number 11. His extender arms. Cade Phillips from Hightower, Missouri City, right outside of Houston. Those dudes have me going. I mean, Xavier Filsme's had a big spring. Jordan Johnson-Rubel. Blake Gideon told me Jordan Johnson-Rubel's the hardest hitter in the safety group. And I'm like, Jelani McDonald? Jelani McDonald? And Gideon said, Jordan Johnson-Rubel. Probably just because he's like more compact. He's 5'10", 201. Jelani is 6'2", 6'2", 204.
Was Blake Gideon talking about the returning guys or just last year in general?
No, this was at the Peach Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Peach Bowl Media Day. But he loves Jelani McDonald. Like, yeah. I'm so excited about Jelani. So yeah, I'd probably be more up on I'd like to see Emory Winston because I think Emory Winston's going to be a player. Like, I know that for sure. Like, I'll just come out and say it. I think Emory Winston's going to be a player. I don't know who of those freshman receivers is going to be a player yet. I know Jelani McDonald, player. Obviously, Colin Simmons and the guys up front. But I think you're seeing Lance Jackson. He's gotten a lot of reps with the ones. Colton Vossick's been watching practice and probably getting more and more hungry and determined to get on that field and, reclaim his position in the pecking order as the backup to Ethan Burke.
Justice Terry ain't playing. Colton Vossick, you better get back as quick as possible because Justice Terry, I'm telling you, that's just, you can't help an injury, but also sometimes when you get hurt, guys snatch that opportunity. And
yeah. Look at Jonah Williams on the baseball team.
Yeah.
Playing like Juan Soto.
Same. Juan Soto. Steve Sarkisian's crazy for that one. Out here looking like Juan Soto. I like that. But,
all right, let's get to the right call.
Let's get it. And congrats to Rex, man, for winning that $50
Rex
ticket to Cabo Bob's. You got them all right. So, and Corey Joseph was that last one.
Yeah.
Player that made the 7th. Yeah, Rex got it right. All right. Shout out to Leaf Landscape Supply, full service wholesale and retail plant nursery and landscape supplier here in the ATX. 2 amazing locations. Check out both. If you're in the area, or even if you're not in the area, check them out. Make sure you go to Leaf Landscape Supply down south off 290 in Monterey Oaks, up north off of Pond Springs Road. If you were looking for large quantities of supplies to fulfill any landscaping job, a collection of trendy house plants, specialty plants, and rare plants, they're your one-stop shop for everything you need. Go to their website at leaflandscapesupply.com to see everything that they have to offer. When it comes to bamboo, you could get that. When it comes to pottery, tools, palms, different types of seeds, different types of trees, doesn't matter. They got it all. Leaf Landscape Supply is the best. When you go in, though, and you try to make a purchase, let them know. The boys at Texas Sports Unfiltered put you on, and you get 10% off. Can't beat that. You get 10% off if you mention us at TSU at Leaf Landscape Supply. And Covert B Cave, Covert Automotive Dealership. I've been doing it in the greater Austin area for over 100 years. Yesterday, I didn't feel like taking my car out to the store because I wanted to take wifey's car out because, I mean, let's just keep it a buck. She has the better vehicle. Covert B Cave hooked us up. The Buick Encore GT, absolutely love it. And, you know, of course, I don't know what it is with wives and stuff. There was no gas in it, so I had to go put gas in it. But no biggie. I enjoy doing that. It just means that I got to be in my Covert BK vehicle for a little bit longer, and it was all worth it. So you could be like me. You could be like wifey. Go to covertbk.com, see all the latest specials and inventory. Buick, GMC, Ram, Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, and Cadillac. 7 terrific brands to choose from. Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. All right, Chip, last 3 minutes. Got to talk a little NBA playoffs. The Lakers tied the series up against the Timberwolves last night, 94-85. They almost blew a 20-point lead, but Luka, solid. LeBron, solid last night. And again, this series, I picked it to go 7. It feels like it's going 7. And JJ Redick, he went off on his guys yesterday where you could hear him mic'd up on TV, cussing out his guys, questioning their effort, their attention to detail. I'm like, okay, look at JJ get pissed. That's what I'm talking about. Like, this is the time of the year where everybody gets a little tight. You're muted, by the way, Chip.
He went on a walkabout.
Yeah. He wasn't playing around. So, again, Luka, 31 points. You know, the officiating was a little interesting last night. The Lakers, they got some home cooking. I'm not going to lie. But, hey, series is tied. They did what they had to do. Now they go to Minnesota for game 3. When it's tied 1-1, whoever wins game 3, most of the time goes on to win the series. So, heck of a series there. Your boy Anthony Edwards, he just loses money. Like, he's just one of the dumbest individuals. And again, I love the guy. I love the way that he plays. He has charisma, but he's stupid. He is so dumb. He told somebody in the stands, game 1, my Johnson is bigger than yours. And he didn't say Johnson either. I'm being nice here on TSU. He did not say Johnson. He said, yeah, that 4-letter word to someone in the stands. Of course, somebody got it on camera. 50,000. Bam. Right out the bank. Right down the drain. Straight to Adam Silver. 50,000 for talking to the fans. Like, that's 50,000 that your son could have used, Anthony. The son that you neglected could probably use. You know what I'm saying? So, again, Anthony Edwards, get it together, but solid series. That Grizzlies Thunder series is going to be a sweep. Like, Grizzlies, they just can't match up with Oklahoma City, which Oklahoma City looks good. Harkenstein trade or getting them in free agency, whatever they did to get Harkenstein, that was a good move to move Chet Holmgren to the 4. They picked up my favorite Aggie of all time, Alex Caruso, which again, take that as you will. I don't really have favorite Aggies on here, but I like me some Alex Caruso. He works with my guy, Zach Urbanus, here in Austin, Texas. He's a good guy. That series is going to end in 4. And then the NBA TV series, the Bucks versus the Pacers. Doc Rivers is going to Doc Rivers. He's just awful. One of the more overrated coaches of all time. They had Dame back. Didn't matter. Pacers took game 2, going on to Milwaukee for game 3, down 0-2. So good playoffs. We'll see if the Rockets could get the dub tonight to tie up the series against the Warriors. Good basketball going on right now.
Let's go. Let's bring in the fellas. Open Gym. Patrick Davis, Matt. What's going on?
Guys? Jose, do you think that Anthony Edwards is really just trying to be like the Stone Cold Steve Austin of the NBA, where he's like, I will not be the face of this league. I'm not going to wear the suit. I'm not ever going to be the nice guy. I'm just going to continue to be an idiot over and over and over again. And I'm going to be really good, and I'm going to beat your best players, but I will never be what you want me to be. And man, when you see like the 45-year-old whatever replaces podcast tour for Anthony Edwards, it's just going to be like, yeah, I made some mistakes when I was younger, and yeah, I didn't have my life in order right then. You know it's going to come.
Worse than John Morant?
No, because John Morant's going to be dead by the time he's 35. So
Jeez,
John Morant makes really bad decisions. Anthony Edwards just says dumb stuff. John Morant's trying to be a gangster, and gangsters get shot. That's not a good decision to make.
Well, Anthony Edwards is only 23 years old, so I think he has a couple years to figure things out.
He has plenty of time to turn his life around, but he needs an entirely new friend group, because that's not the way to live life, is to try and be like, hey, I'm millions of dollars and I'm gonna go be a gangster. Like, no, be a basketball player. It's a much better career choice. Much better.
When I was 23 years old, I was the biggest idiot on the planet. So I'm gonna give him some.
Too. Did not want to be a gangster though. Did not want to be a gangster. No point in my life did I want to hang around people that were just constantly trying to shoot other people. Never been a point in my life. Didn't want to be a cop either. Didn't want to be around people shooting other people. Neither way.
Hey, y'all fellas.
Crazy.
Appreciate you. Get out of your hair.
Have a good one, guys.
Dang, dead.
Just jokes.
Jokes. Love you boys, man. Matt,
appreciate you guys. Welcome into Open Gym. Always just try and keep it interesting there at the beginning.
You're doing a good job, man. You're doing a good job.
But no, we're just trying to have fun. It's all good. It's a Wednesday afternoon show here on Open Gym. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI. We got a lot to get into today. Saw some more names in the portal for Texas basketball. We'll keep talking about Texas football as we get to the end of spring training there. Gonna get a lot of stuff going into today, and the draft is on Thursday. It's gonna be a fun one. We've also got the midweek movie review coming up of Moneyball. Lots of good stuff coming up on the show today. Matt, did you enjoy watching all of your basketball last night? I know you just watch basketball nonstop now, and
honestly, I think I'm coming down with strep, so I was in and out of consciousness all night last night.
Oh, that is no fun.
So I watched zero basketball. I did watch Moneyball though.
You did watch Moneyball. Good. I did. And I won't talk about this, but I do think maybe there's a Mavs general manager who watches Moneyball and thinks that he's in a different part of that movie than he's in. Something tells me there's somebody who thinks, no, when they understand defense wins championships, when they understand that, then they'll know that I'm the guy. Let's get into it. Talk some Texas football first to start off the show. Texas, once again, has been dominating in the portal and getting the guys that they want to go after. So far, I haven't heard too much more noise. Matt, have you heard too much more noise out of Texas going after anybody in the portal? It is still open till Friday.
No, I haven't. I don't expect them to really add anything of significance outside of maybe if they elect to go for a special teams type guy like a Silas Bolden or maybe a veteran corner or something like that. But I think they're sitting pretty. They're sitting pretty right now, and I think they're going to be all right if they just stay out of the portal for the rest of the time.
Yeah, and I think that they've done what they needed to do. They came in, they saw what they wanted, they took what they wanted, and they moved on. And it's putting Texas in the position that we feel that they're in pretty good shape going into the next season. Now, it does leave Arch Manning with some fun to deal with as you finish up spring, as he is trying to merge his team together, and Arch is now at the place that being the new leader of this team, especially on the offense, and you're adding in a couple pieces that aren't really going to be there for spring, but they will be coming in over summer, and having to make that connection over the summer. It's going to be an interesting piece for Arch to try and put together. We know Quinn had to do it a few times, but he had a little bit more experience under his belt. Arch, I'm sure, understands, he's been around the camps where he's been in the nicer meetings in those camps, and he understands putting these things together. But if you're Arch Manning, or you're trying to get Arch ready for summer, how are you getting Arch ready to go into a summer with? I know you've been working with a couple tight ends and a couple receivers, and you need to keep doing that. But we've also got to integrate in now a new wide receiver that may be one of your top 2-3 options, and a tight end who's also probably going to jump into that top 3-4 options kind of feel for you. How do you integrate those guys in as you get into this offseason?
Well, I mean, I think it just boils down to Arch being a leader and sort of communicating with these guys. Right, this is what our schedule is going to be this summer. This is when we're going to work out together. These are going to be our drills. I want you here at this time every day. If you're 5 minutes early, you're late. Like he's got to sort of drive this whole thing a lot like Quinn did, and just make sure that everybody's on the same page. Make sure we're working out together. Make sure we're watching film together. All those different types of things. So I think he's going to do that. I mean, he's been around this is his third year in the program now. So I think he's learned a lot from Quinn, and I think he's going to kind of implement those things into the way that he approaches this. And I mean, but also, he's his own type of leader as well. He's going to do things a little bit differently, but I think he's going to take the positives from what Quinn did and kind of make his own recipe on how to do this thing. But really, it all just boils down to him sending Emmett Mosley and Jack Endries a text and being like, "Hey, you're not going back home this summer. You're staying here in Austin with me. We're hitting the practice fields. We're working. We're running route trees. We're doing all the things. We're watching film together at 6 a.m., that kind of thing." So, and I think he's going to do a great job of that.
Yeah, I mean, this is two guys that you have no worries that they want to come in and do the job. They're coming in from schools that weren't necessarily competing on that same level of trying to be in the playoffs. They were trying to, compete in their own conference, and they're in the new conference. So this is a move up for both these guys into a world of, we're trying to win a national championship, and if you're on board, let's go get it. So it'll be fun to see what they get. We get some reports. Arch is not a social media guy, but I'm sure some of the other guys will get little clips of it over the off season. But as we continue to hear the reports coming out of camp that there are some players standing out. There are some players getting ready. We keep hearing more and more good things about Dalen McCutcheon, and that Dalen McCutcheon seems to be the guy who's probably the closest to the circle of trust right now. As for the young guys coming in, that we know Parker Livingstone is close to that circle of trust now. And I'm really curious, Quinn Ewers, for everything he has going for him, for everything that was, of being a coachable guy and everything else, it feels like Arch maybe has a little bit more of, maybe not early in the season, but maybe a little bit later. I don't know. It feels like he maybe has a little bit more conversation with Sark. I don't want to say pushback. I feel like pushback's the wrong term, but a little bit more conversation, where Quinn Ewers was very malleable, and you tell me what to do and I will go do it to the best of my abilities. It feels like Arch may have a little bit more into him, that if Sark comes to him and says, these are the guys I trust, Arch may say, I trust this guy. I want this guy on my field. I want this guy to be with me, riding with me out there on the field. So it'll be big over the summer of who works with Arch, because this feels like he maybe has that little bit more say in the room. We've heard the rumors that at practice he is talking a ton, and he is talking some ish to everybody, which makes sense because you come off of playing, pickup games with the Mannings. I feel like they talk enough trash on TV that those games behind the scenes probably are pretty bad, that he's coming into that world, and you feel like maybe in those meetings with Sark, he may have a little bit more to say than Quinn, who is felt much more of a guy who kind of just did what he was supposed to do and was trying to do the best job possible. Arch, I think, believes he may have some say in the best job possible.
Yeah, I think that he kind of has to going into this because he's
Yeah.
such a different player than Quinn, and he's got a whole new group of guys, and this is just going to be just as much of a learning experience for Sark as it is for Arch. So I think they kind of have to work together a little bit more closely than maybe Sark and Quinn did in the past, because Quinn was there for 3 years. They kind of came in together, they grew together, and this is a little bit different because this is going to be Arch's first year in this as the starter in the system, right? It's different when you're coming in relief for a game or two, or you're the backup for the whole season. Now you have basically a whole new group of receivers. What's going to look like probably an entirely different offense just because of their skill sets. So Arch being a Manning, he probably has a lot of his own ideas and his uncle's ideas and his grandfather's ideas that he kind of wants to implement as well. I still think at the end of the day, it's going to be Sark's call, no matter what, like who's on the field.
Oh, yeah.
But he's going to take Arch's, his suggestions and all those things into consideration, because he wants him to be as successful as possible too. Because, if Arch trusts, Dalen McCutcheon over Jamie French, for example, he's going to be, and Sark is like, but yeah, Jamie French has this upside. Well, it's like, yeah, but this guy runs the right route, and he's where he's supposed to be every single time, and this guy's still learning on the fly. I mean, those aren't the exact conversations they're having, I'm sure, but it's stuff like that, right? And with Arch, I feel like he's going to have a more open playbook as well, because of his legs and because of the different things that he can do, and he probably can throw the ball downfield a little bit better. So it's just everything's going to be a little bit different, and they're going to kind of work together to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, and Rodney says, do you mean something like having the Stones to check out of a dumbass play at the one? Not entirely. And I get it. Some of those plays at the one that I thought were really dumb, you can't really check out of, because Tavondre Sweat was on the field, or Alfred Collins, or whoever he puts in there, and you just have a personnel group that there's not a lot. You have one play for that personnel group, and that's a play. Mm-hmm. So there were some of them you can't really check out of, but I think you have more on a Friday and on a Saturday when you're setting those, or Friday or Thursday or Friday when you're setting those, that you can walk into and say, I don't like that play in the playbook. Let's talk about that. So once you get on the field, and this is a big thing for coaches and quarterbacks, unless you're, when your fifth, sixth, seventh year of playing in the NFL, you really have to listen to your play callers a lot. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to have as much range. Maybe if you're already winning playoff games and stuff in your first couple of years, you get a little bit more. But for the most part, you're sitting there. This is Arch's first year being a starter. I don't think he's necessarily going to be out there bucking the trend too much when Sark calls a play. But I do think in the meeting rooms, that is where you can have those conversations, because that's where those conversations belong. You don't necessarily have to do them against, you don't necessarily have to do them against in the moment. In the moment, you have to trust your coach. You have to go with what you do. It's like, this is why back in, coaches used to be much harder, because it's like the military. When I say jump, you say how high. There's a certain element you have to have of that in football to make things work, because your offensive line is fully believing in what's happening. Your wide receivers, everybody has to be bought into it. So when you start changing stuff and there becomes that rift, it becomes really, really toxic. I don't think Arch has any of that in him, that he is going to be trying to be that go out. And I get the last plays against Ohio State. I get it. It was frustrating at the end. There was a lot of problems that were happening right there. And I get that it's frustrating, but I think that there's a point where you could have those conversations before the game, and you maybe get into some things that Arch feels more comfortable doing that Arch doesn't, so I think your red zone will turn into having a more vocal person in the meetings who's been on the field and can tell you what he saw from a quarterback's eyes. He may be able to articulate that better than Quinn Ewers did. And so you get different packages, you get different things out of it. And that's, at the end of the day, it's going to be fun to watch Arch grow into that. And, we'll see how much he checks. We know Quinn Ewers, by the end of his career at Texas, was doing a lot of adjustments on the fly out there. He was making those because Sark trusted him at that point. We'll see how far we get with that with Arch this year. that if he continues to make the right decisions, I still think there's probably going to be a point in this season where Arch gets humbled a little bit, just because that happens to pretty much every player in sports. Is you have your welcome to the game moments. And, there's probably a game where the defense just reads him well, throws him a couple of tricks, and gets some interceptions because they're showing him some things he just hasn't really seen before. And that's the stuff where you go back to the drawing board with the coach and he goes, this happens. And you just go get it and you move on to the next thing. So I think that you'll see maybe a little bit more of an Arch run meeting than an Arch run on the field, but I'm excited to see what he can do to get that playbook really down to what he wants.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of both on the same page here. He's not exactly going to go out there and be Jonathan Moxon from Varsity Blues, where he just does whatever the hell he wants. He's going to play within the offense, and he's going to run the plays that Sark calls. But you have to have some sort of trust in your quarterback, whether he's a first-year starter or whether he's a third-year starter, to make adjustments on the fly, because defenses will make adjustments based on what you come out in your formation, and they'll change what they're doing. So then you have to kind of change that in response. So he's gonna have reign to do those kinds of things. It's just a matter of how much he's able.
Yeah,
to
we
take
also
on
have
early
headset
on.
communication now too. We have headset communication, which changes a ton. That and now Arch gets to come into it where up to 15 seconds he can still talk to the coach. So if they come out and show something, he can change up what he's doing. So there's just a ton that changes in that world where he'll have some say, but again, most of it will still be Sark's. I'm just curious to see when it comes to that circle of trust. I feel like that circle of trust, we only ever talked about it in previous years as being Sark's circle of trust. And I think now you look at a little bit more vocal quarterback and say this may be Sark and Arch's circle of trust.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. They're going to figure it out together, and I think that's the most important point here. Sark is going to do everything he possibly can to put Arch in positions to succeed, playing to his strengths and calling things to his strengths. And at that same, at the same side of that coin, or the other side of that coin, Arch is going to be like, okay, these are the things that I'm comfortable doing. I don't want to dump the ball off, and throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage 20 times in a game. And we're not doing that anymore. These are the things that I'm more comfortable doing, throwing the ball here or there or wherever, and calling this kind of play or this kind of run and those kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's going to be a joint effort, and it's going to be an Arch Sarkeesian circle of trust.
Yes, there you go. There we go. Looking over at the basketball side of it, we did see a couple more names jump into reports today. That we saw one name that was kind of that Texas has reached out to. It's a little bit more, I don't know. I don't think he would be playing a huge amount of minutes if he came to Texas. So if he did, I don't know. It doesn't make as much sense. I get it. These are both point guards that have come up today. We've been talking about they're looking for that point guard. Neither one of these guys is a great three-point shooter, though. But they do some different things. The first name that we heard that they were tied with is Zane Mingo. He's a 6'4" guard out of Marshall, plays point guard, averages 12.6 points per game, 4.7 rebounds per game, 5.2 assists per game, and a 32% three-point shooter. He's a junior that's only played 1 year of D1 basketball at Marshall, though. The first 2 years were not D1. So he falls into a different group where he played pretty well, did well, but this is again would be another major step up for him in the level of competition. So he's a good passer. He can do a lot of things well, but I think you look at those numbers and say they're probably all down a little bit. If he comes to Texas, you probably put him in that role where he's competing for time with Jordan Pope at the one, but can play decent defense and 6'4", has decent height. So everything on there is if you're talking about a guy to play 10, 15 minutes, fill out that roster. If he wants to come to Texas and do that, then makes a lot of sense. But I think he's got a ton of offers right now. So he may go somewhere where he's going to get a little bit more playing time, because I just don't think Texas can offer him the huge amount of playing time that he might want as a junior too, where the clock is ticking. Now, he is a junior that played D2 basketball, and we know all those rules could change, that D2 eligibility and D1 eligibility are separate, or, you get an extra year if you play D2. So, all of that could be different come in the following years when he gets more eligibility. But he right now would have 1 year of eligibility left, I believe. So maybe not the guy that is the first priority, but somebody you keep on there that as long as he's not anywhere else, you keep him on a rope, because if you don't get somebody else, you're going to need some other help at that point guard position.
Yeah, he feels more to me, and I'm sure their skill sets are different, and they're different players with different athletic ability and all those kinds of things, but it kind of feels like more of a Julian Larry signing than anything else, just a guy that you can have back there who can kind of help run the point guard, the reserve point guard role. I wouldn't expect him to start or anything like that, but it's a guy that you gotta figure out ways to fill out this roster, and if that's the direction you have to go, then that's the direction you have to go.
And then the other point guard that they're looking at is Simeon Wilcher. He's from St. John's, so played well with St. John's last year. He's a sophomore guard, 6'4" again. He averaged 8 points per game, 1.9 rebounds per game, 1.4 assists per game, 1.1 steals per game. He's only a 30% three-point shooter. He shoots a little bit better in the catch and shoot than he does off the dribble, the same way we were talking about Boogie Fland yesterday. One of those players, and this happens with a lot of point guards, they get a little too excited with the basketball, and when they decide to shoot, the form and everything else kind of goes out the window. The pace of the shot goes out the window, and they're just kind of trying to go things faster and faster, and it causes shots off the dribble to be a lot worse. You're not worried about centering up your body, because when you're playing point, you don't necessarily worry about that as much when you're dribbling. You're trying to find lanes and create space. And so you're not necessarily thinking about straight fundamentals of shooting, but when you catch and shoot, you do think about that a lot more. Comes naturally. But this is somebody that Texas has been now tied to. There is smoke on this one. There are people that are actually reporting that that Texas is the favorite right now for Simeon Wilcher. We saw that Dylan Mitchell went to St. John's, which I could have sworn I saw a week ago, and said that he was already there a week ago. So I don't know why that just happened. I don't know if he didn't commit and it was just reported. I saw a report a week ago that he had already signed with St. John's. So we know Dylan Mitchell went there, but they've got a ton of recruits in at St. John's. So he's going to go try and find where he can get a little bit more playing time. And this is, again, a sophomore, get a couple years of eligibility, go compete for the job with Jordan Pope. He's a different type of player. I don't know if he's a spot-up shooter that you really, really want. He is another guy that attacks the basket well. That really seems to be Sean Miller's go-to, that this team is built on a lot of guys who attack the basket well, which is all well and good until you go play at Tennessee or, somebody like that who's just going to play you rough and have some big guys inside, and they're built about stopping guys who attack the rim, and your offense crawls at points in the half court. When everybody's trying to get to the basket, it'll just crawl a little bit more. You have to have some shooters. So I have concerns about that, but at the same part, he is a point guard. He is 6'4". He played for St. John's. You can play some defense. And so I think there's a lot of things to like about Simeon Wilcher, that he does fit into, this fits into having yourself another point guard that can really be in the conversation of being a starting point guard for you, can be in the conversation of sharing time with Jordan Pope, but not necessarily they'll be playing back and forth for who gets to be in the game and who gets to play clutch minutes and who gets to do all those things as the season goes down. This is a good pickup if Texas can land Simeon Wilcher. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And he's played some big time basketball. He played 25.4 minutes a game for St. John's this year, and they were a tournament team. So, you like to have that experience. He only shot 29% from three on 3.1 attempts per game, which, the year before he shot 41%, but that was only on 1 3 a game. So a little bit different, once he started getting a little bit more, opportunities there to shoot. He did average 1.1 steals per game, which I always like to see a point guard who can get some steals and play some defense. The assist numbers weren't there, but that's also, I don't think he was necessarily asked to do that as much as he would be asked to do that at Texas. So he'd probably play a little bit different of a style here. But yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a guy who could play point guard for you, who's played in big games and played big minutes. And, that's something that is a lot more appealing to me than a guy who spent 2 years at D1 and then played at Marshall. So I'd be all for it, especially if, a guy like Boogie Fland isn't gonna look Texas's way. This is kind of your option of saying, okay, we got our point guard now. We can roll with this, and we'll have 2 guys that we feel comfortable running the point with. Really 3 with Ramon Mark. Yeah, I mean, this really puts you in a position. If you get him, I'm still not a huge fan of the lineup from top to bottom. I'd still love to add another piece, but I think you're more set of this is a lineup now. This is a rotation that we can live with. This has an 8-man, 9-man rotation that we can live within, and we can go play basketball with this. And, you're probably not going to be a great team, but you'll be a good team. And you add in somebody with experience, with tournament experience, in Simeon Wilcher. I think that, this is somebody that lets you go into the rest of the offseason now that the portal is closed and go in with a little bit more confidence than if you don't have this last piece. If you don't have it, you're definitely a player short. But if you get this, your identity is going to be perimeter defense, running out there. Dalen Swain can play some defense. Tremont Mark can play some defense. Kendall Weaver can play some defense. Wilcher can play some defense. You have a lot of guys you can put out there who can show up and play for you. And, you can go 1 through 4 in a lineup of guys who can switch, of guys who can guard a lot of different players. And I think that's kind of what your identity is going to be more built on in that, and then trying to get steals and get out in transition, because a lot of these guys want to go fast. The issue you have is when you play really good teams, that becomes harder and harder to do. And so this may be a team that is not necessarily built for playing top 10 teams every week, which sucks in the SEC. This may be something that Sean Miller is going to learn in his first year in the SEC. And I don't mean this like, I know this sounds very much like SEC homerism talk and all this. 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said this about the SEC. And I know we weren't in it, but this is just last season. How many teams made in the tournament? There's just a lot of really good teams in the SEC right now. If Auburn comes back and plays really good, if Alabama's still in that conversation, if Florida, who's your defending national champions, is there, we can talk. We can list the teams that Tennessee we know is going to be good. That you're going to be playing top 10 teams. There could be 5 or 6 in the SEC next year, and then more teams than the 10 to 20 is another 4 or 5 teams. Yeah. So you say you have 10 ranked teams in the SEC pretty easily. Then a team that is built to beat everyone but ranked teams falls very short in the SEC. So finding that way to build this team and work in the offseason, find guys who can score in the half court. That half court offense, to me, that's what I want to see more than anything from Sean Miller, because this team's not built for it. And I think that Sean Miller is a really good coach. I think he can find solutions. But for the last several years, we have seen Texas fall apart in the half court. And that goes to coaching. That goes to the player selection. That goes to everything. They've fallen apart in the half court. If Sean Miller can fix that, then this team automatically gets much, much better. If you can get Tremont Mark and Kendall Weaver and I mean, Swain's not even, but if you can find ways to get the guys shots that they can hit, I'll be really, really impressed. But, I think this Wilcher is a good signing if you're able to get him. There's a lot of smoke around it right now, so hopefully this will be something they can get done pretty soon. And now that the transfer portal is closed, there's just not as many names going in. There's still a ton of names out there. We told you yesterday about the fact that there could be a shoot ton more if you want to get out and get if they allow the 5th-year guys to come back. That would be a ton more names that you can go out and get. But right now, this is if you're able to get Simeon Wilcher, 8-man rotation is there. Let's go figure it out and figure out what their guys' roles are on the court more.
Yeah, it feels like I think that's a good point by you. It feels like a team that we've seen at Texas for the last couple of years, except they don't have a Trey Johnson who can come out and score 30 points on any given night. Yeah. So there are going to be nights where it's really rough. And then some of these other teams around the SEC have done a really good job of the transfer portal of reloading. So they're kind of ahead of you right now anyway. Like an Ole Miss has done a really good job so far. Auburn's still going to be there. Tennessee's still going to be there. Florida's still going to be there. A&M has actually had a couple of really good signings here in the transfer portal as well. I still don't think that they're necessarily going to be a contender, but they got that 4 or 5-star from Indiana that is going to be a pretty good player. They got the guard from Oklahoma. So, I think that kind of the approach going into this year feels like, let's do our best to have an okay team that can play good basketball and have a chance at the tournament. And then we'll have some player retention as we go forward, and then we'll start to get better from there. But like, it almost feels like they're putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, and they're saying that we're going to be fine this year, and but then next year, things will start to get better as we
Yeah.
acquire some more pieces and recruits and things like that.
And in all reality, there are things that are different from last year. You have a 7-footer. You have now a big man in 6'10" Traore who can play with physicality in the post. You have a couple things you didn't have before. So there are differences. And I know you still don't have Trey Johnson. That's 100% dead on. You don't have that guy. I think what you may see different, and again, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Sean Miller thinking that he is going to be able to get this team ready to play, is I think your non-conference, if you're able to be healthy this season, your non-conference could look better than it did for Texas the last year. I think we have that. The big problem I see right now is this is not a lineup for the SEC. And that's where the questions arise. And honestly, that's fine. Let Sean Miller walk into it. Let Sean Miller understand what it is. He played in the Pac-12 when they were really good with Arizona. He's been around places that have had good rosters before. And so I think he can figure it out. You walk in late in the game, there's not a ton you can do. But if you're able to get Wilcher, you start to feel a little bit better about how this season could be run because you think that he's going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, and I think that you're really onto something there because Sean Miller has played some SEC teams.
Yeah,
right. With Xavier, he's played some good basketball teams, but he hasn't had a full SEC schedule. He needs to kind of go in there and figure out what it's going to look like night in and night out. And it's one thing to watch film; it's another thing to live it. So he's going to be learning on the job as much as he has at any other stop in the past. He's going to try to find ways to get this team to fit more of an SEC mold as his career goes forward with Texas. And, he's done some things that have improved this roster. It's just, there's still a couple spots there where you're like, okay, this is going to make things kind of rough. And I just don't think that he's necessarily had enough opportunity to fill those holes yet, just because of the way things have gone on the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, and so I don't want to be negative about this team. This Wilcher will make you feel better because it does put you're not kind of guessing at the point guard position now. You feel like you have a little bit more of a plan at the point guard position, which I know that all along they've been trying to put this roster together, and there's just some pieces you miss. The concerns I've had from the beginning about this team being able to, of them understanding what the problem is ahead of it and getting the money to do it. That's still the concern at the end of the day. Is this team going to get the money to be able to compete at a higher level? Or, we watch Moneyball. Is it going to be somebody saying, well, coach, you're good. Go win us games. And we're not going to be able to put the best roster out. And this is not how college basketball is working right now. And so we'll see what ends up happening with this team. I'm on board with what a lot of they've done. I like some of the players they brought in. It just, you keep waiting for the superstar. And that's the piece that I feel is kind of that difference between how Texas has built really good teams in the past and how Sean Miller built at Xavier. And you're like, build like it's Arizona, not like Xavier.
Yeah.
Don't build with these the restrictions of you can't get a 5-star and you can't get those. And I know recruiting wise, he wants to probably bring in some guys. He's been heavy in recruiting. And 2026, you're seeing a ton of names out there right now that he's looking at, especially the Theo Ratliff's kids are an interesting one. Have you seen anything about them yet?
I have not.
Theo Ratliff, he was a player in the NBA for many, many years, center. He has 2 kids. One's like 6'10", one's 7 foot. And Texas is looking at both of them. And one of them's better than the other right now, but they're both kind of finding their bodies because when you're 16 years old and 6'10" and 7 foot, you haven't been that way for very long, and it takes a little bit. But we saw that with Jackson Hayes is a perfect example of somebody that when he found it, he found it. And I know he got somewhat abused the last couple of games against a bigger Minnesota team, but when he does what he does well, you can see that's why he's in the NBA. That's why he's a starter in the NBA right now. And so I think that they're looking at them as maybe some guys that come from good pedigree and of NBA talent, and they're both big guys. So there's some interesting names in the pipeline for next season and down the road they're definitely going to be looking at recruiting, because I think Sean Miller looks at that as well as a more affordable route of roster building at Texas.
Yeah.
That if we're going to the transfer portal and it's just going to be really expensive, and everyone knows or everyone thinks Texas has all the money in the world. So when they're coming to the door, they're not willing to come in and not play for, less money. They want to try and get the most they can. So it's an interesting piece what they're trying to build right now. It's going to be a year. We saw Rodney Terry 1 year in the SEC, and all the things he didn't think were going to happen that happened. And now they had injuries a ton last year too. We saw Chris Beard when he went to Ole Miss, his first year in the SEC, didn't quite get the difference between that and the Big 12, because the Big 12 was really good, but it wasn't the same type of good, and it wasn't the same type of players necessarily. It was just a different kind of league. And so I think the prevailing thought was, well, we were in a really tough Big 12 with some really good teams. We'll be ready to go. But I think there was different, more diverse styles in the Big 12, where you had a Kansas who was really, really good, but we could play, had all the talent in the world. And then you go play in Iowa State, who didn't have the talent, but could just rough you up and play tough defense on you. And I think they were prepared more for that going in the SEC. And they just met a bunch of teams with a ton of talent and then different playing styles. And they went, everyone here is playing like close to Kansas money. That's a huge difference for us, because we were in the Big 12 where that wasn't the case.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's going to be a learning experience for him trying to build a roster in this conference that can compete, because it's just from top to bottom, it's just so much more difficult. It's so much more talented. It's honestly, it's like this in every sport in the SEC. It feels like it's like this in football. It's like this in baseball and basketball and all that stuff. I mean, it's just such a difficult league to compete in. And it's sort of, and I know like everybody's super excited about, having a new basketball coach on campus, and Sean Miller is, a guy that they're very confident in. But typically what happens when you go to a new conference, no matter what sport it's in, it's going to take you, or even just to a new team in your first year, it's going to take you a minute to figure it out and figure out what, you think that you need to do to make sure that you're successful. I mean, Sark was 5-7 his first year with Texas, and that was in the Big 12, right? And it took him a year or two to sort of hone things in and get things the way that he wanted to get them, and get his guys in there and have his whole roster that he wanted. And Sean Miller and Texas are just kind of in that transition period. There's still a lot of guys left over from the Rodney Terry / Chris Beard era with, Tremone Mark and Jordan Pope, like all these guys that were under Rodney Terry. And it's not completely Sean Miller's team, and he's going to have to find ways to rectify that. And I think that that's more likely to happen through recruiting than it is through the transfer portal, just because of the way things are built in the SEC and college basketball. There's just so much money out there for these SEC teams, these other SEC teams that you have to compete with, where, Texas's NIL budget in football, if they want to go out and get a transfer, is limitless pretty much. Right.
Yeah. That phone call is a lot easier to make.
Yeah.
I'll give you this though. Sean Miller starts winning. And if Sean Miller can start to build a program and the Moody Center is getting packed again and everything, those phone calls become easier. Yeah. But right now, that's not the case.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's just, I think it's just going to take some time for him to prove what he can do on the court for a bunch of these big name guys in the transfer portal to start looking at Texas. It's really hard to do that in the first year when you haven't played a game on the floor yet, right? So it's just going to take a little time. It's going to be a little painful at certain points. It's going to be a lot of fun at some points, but for the most part, it's just going to be kind of it's going to be more about patience than immediate results for Texas.
Yep. I'm with you 100%. Speaking of immediate results, what about Schloss and Texas baseball? And those immediate results, crazy game last night. You went back and forth. And when the scoring started, it just did not stop. And Texas State gets out to a big 4-0 lead, and you feel like, okay, is this going to be the same thing that Texas State is having? Texas having the problem. You didn't start your normal Tuesday night starter because of the injury to Jared Spencer, so you were trying to make sure you had enough arms ready for this weekend because you're not quite sure where Jared Spencer is going to be. You're assuming he's not playing, so you want to have some arms ready for then. So you send out Grayson Saunier, and he does okay, but you have to send out a bunch of guys because they just keep hitting. Texas gets back into it with 4 in the 5th, but then Texas State puts up 1 in the 5th and then 4 more in the 6th, and then Texas responds with 4 more in the 7th, but no, 2 more for Texas State. We see 2 more for Texas in the 8th, and then the huge grand slam in the 9th to take the lead and finally get it. It was a nuts game for Texas, going back and forth. You lost the first one to Texas State, and so this one you really, really wanted to have, because you didn't want Texas State to be able to be the team to walk away and say, we beat them twice this season. And the way they were hitting, they just play really well against Texas, man. And they hit the ball extremely well. And still Texas was able to get just enough. You had men on base in the 8th that you thought you were going to be able to go and try and get some guys on. And then in the 9th, you just are able to get on base and then give it up to get that big home run for Jalen Flores. It's like you can't load the bases for him, and he just took it out of the park. And it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch because you're sitting there and it is the dire circumstances, and then all of a sudden you feel a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, just a little callback to Moneyball. The most important thing about being successful in baseball is getting on base, right?
Exactly.
So that's what they're able to do late in the game. And look, Texas State's a really good baseball team. They beat Texas once already. They beat A&M. Like, this is a team who can play well against some good teams. So it was really it was a battle. Like, you don't normally want to see a really taxing game in the midweek before a big series, but they were able to overcome it and they were able to win. So hopefully, now they've got a couple days before they go into the A&M series, and they'll be able to kind of relax and refocus and do all those things. But not the typical game you see in a midweek against a, non-power conference team. Am I right?
No. And Roy, you're right. Yeah, there was 8 walks that Texas gave up. Texas State gave up 14. You never like to see more earned runs than hits. And both teams had more runs than hits. That's not good to have more runs than hits. You like to be able to slow that down a little bit, and that went back and forth. We did get the scare. I've not heard any reports. If you guys heard anything, let me know. That Jonah Williams did leave the game, apparently injured. So as much as Sark was talking about it all working out yesterday, I'm sure at some point he was a little pissed off. But I just said that we could do 2 sports, and then Jonah Williams walks out. This was you hope that there's nothing major for Jonah Williams for baseball first and foremost, because you've already had the Max Ballou injury, and Jonah Williams felt like he could be somebody to maybe fill in that hole a little bit more. And but then for football as well, you'd love to see him get out on the field in his freshman season and not miss more time due to injury and not be able to get out there and get the work done, because you're not really going to be able to see the field if you can't even go to spring. You miss spring because you're playing baseball, and then you miss fall because you're injured. You're just not going to see the field that much. So you hope that it's nothing that bad. I haven't heard anything bad, so hopefully it's just something minor. And because it was a Tuesday night game, they said, any discomfort, let us know, we'll pull you.
Yeah, and it's all well and good that both Schloss and Stark want this guy to play both sports, but then an injury happens, and things start to pucker up a little bit more for both sides. Like, man, this is the kind of thing that's going to really drive him to have to probably make a decision here if it's something that is serious. And I haven't heard that it's serious or not serious either, but he's young. Athletes heal faster now than they ever have before, so I'm not really too concerned, even if it is like an injury that's going to keep him out for a little bit. They'll need him down the stretch, so I don't think they're going to push him either way.
Nope. Hopefully it'll all be good. Hopefully we'll see him this weekend against Texas A&M because it's going to be a big, big series. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into our midweek movie review and talk some NFL draft as we get into it. I want to ask Matt, we ran out of time yesterday. I want to talk to him about teams that may trade up. There's reports now we're hearing about certain teams possibly trading the world to go up and get their guy. So we want to pick about who may actually trade up. We'll get into that. There's some mock drafts that have been coming out. Last mock drafts for a lot of people. See where the Longhorns are on the board. We can ask the question now, too, about Isaiah Bond because he's not on anybody's mocks anymore. So this is a big, and it's a question because it's about a record now, guys. It's about a record for Texas. So we'll get into all of that when we come back here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. It's Open Gym, 4 to 6 p.m. with myself, Patrick Davis, and Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
I got this, Dad. This is Camilla McKay, and my dad can help with any TV or stereo needs you have around your house. Just call him, and he will come to you with advice and a great price. And the guys that work for him are awesome. They can install anything, anywhere. So, like my dad says, just relax and smile. We handle all the work.
So just give us a call at 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
McCall Custom Homes. If you're thinking about doing a renovation of a bathroom, the kitchen, maybe some extended outdoor space, you want someone who's going to bring you custom renovation. And that's what Mike McCall Custom Homes is all about. Been doing it at a high level in Austin for 40 years. Father-son team with tons of experience, and they care about the details. They care about bringing you custom work because they want you to refer them to your friends. So get over to McCall Custom Homes, ATX.com. McCall Custom Homes, ATX.com. Check out the work. You can check out the work on social media as well at McCall Custom Homes. But you want, when it comes to your home, you want a trusted ally and someone who's going to bring value, added value to your home and a great living experience. And that's what McCall Custom Homes is all about.
BK here for OLIPOP. Man, this stuff is the game changer of all game changers. Their slogan is a new kind of soda, and that's exactly what it is. You get that same great soda taste, but OLIPOP is actually good for you. Inside of every can, a blend of 7 unique botanicals, plant fibers, and prebiotics. You're getting 9 grams of fiber in every can, only 2 to 5 grams of sugar, and man, the flavor is absolutely there. Classic soda flavors like cola, root beer, lemon lime, and Dr. Goodwin. That's their version of a Dr. Pepper, and some other great flavors as well. The grape, the cream soda, the cherry cola. It's all fantastic. I'm telling y'all, OLIPOP tastes just like the soda you grew up sipping, but with the added benefits of microbiome and digestive health support as well. Pick up OLIPOP at H-E-B, Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, and Costco all throughout the Austin area and the state of Texas. And head over to drinkolipop.com. Use the promo code Texas20 for a discount on your first purchase. It's OLIPOP, a new kind of soda.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Getting into it in our second hour of the show, coming up to our second hour of the show here. And let's get into it. It's Wednesday. That means it is time for the midweek movie review. Each week, Matt and I watch a movie, and we come back and talk about it at the end of the week. We're doing this over the offseason, having some fun, watching some different sports movies. And Matt went in, since baseball season has just begun, one of his favorite sports movies. Moneyball is what we watched. And I'd love to hear what you think. We'll get into it, Matt. But watched Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. Have a good little watch of that. What do you think about Moneyball there, Matt?
So I've made it very known on this show that I'm not the biggest baseball guy in the world. So the fact that I was able to get really into this movie, I think says something about how well it's made. The way that they dive into Billy Bean's strategy, I think, is very interesting. I wasn't before I saw this movie for the first time, I wasn't really aware of all of those things that happened. The idea that he just completely flipped the script on the normal baseball ideology and took a risk and did something different and put his job on the line to try and buck the trend and like just take what he had to work with and try and succeed with that and maximize it as much as he could was very, very interesting to me. I thought Jonah Hill did a tremendous job in that role. I thought he was probably the best character in the movie outside of Brad Pitt. I don't think his name in real life was Peter Brand. I think that the guy who was actually the assistant GM or whatever I guess he didn't want to be involved.
From what I've read, it's a conglomeration of several people, that there was multiple people involved in this, but they basically made it into one to make more sense for the story.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, he did a great job with the role. Brad Pitt did a great job. I thought that the baseball scouts were very, very well represented on like the old head mentality of baseball in general. I thought that was great. I thought that Philip Seymour Hoffman did a great job as Art Howe. I love seeing Rod Washington being represented in there. You know, my favorite Rangers manager of all time, just because he's hysterical. And the players that they brought, like the guy that played Chad Bradford, the guy that played the catcher that they moved to first base.
Pratt?
Yeah, Chris Pratt playing that role. I thought he did great. I thought the stuff with his daughter was really good. It was sweet and you know, it kind of got you in the feels there. My only real problem with this whole thing being a story in general is that they never won anything. Like they won an AL West a couple times, but like they never really won anything. I get that they changed the game of baseball with the way that they did everything, but typically in these kinds of movies, and I think that this was my biggest complaint with Friday Night Lights as well, of why that was created into a story, is they just didn't win anything.
No, and like the pinnacle of the movie is winning 20 straight games, and they're like, this is what they did because it's all downhill from here.
Yeah. And granted, that's an historical thing, and that's amazing what they did. I mean, it's one of the most impressive things that's ever happened in baseball. But, you know, I also thought it was really interesting that he took the trip to Boston and turned down that $12.5 million deal, which would have, I guess, made him the highest paid general manager in the history of sports, and just to finish the job with Oakland. But he never finished the job with Oakland, so that kind of sucks. But overall, I thought it was a great movie. I thought it was very well made. Brad Pitt did a tremendous job. I also love the stuff with his backstory as a player, and how that kind of informed his decision making later on down the road. But yeah, overall, great movie. It's really hard to pick it apart, in my opinion, but I'm sure you're about to pick it apart.
No, look, I actually liked the movie. I did like the movie tonight. So it was a good movie. So I'm not just coming at it as harshly as Friday Night Lights, which was a terrible movie. But Moneyball's a good movie. I could have cut 10, 20, 25 minutes out of it pretty easily. I would have killed everything of the past life of his. I get it. I get what the building of it is. I don't need to see it. I get it. Like, it helps a little bit, but again, for me personally, I don't want any movie to be over 2 hours. It's a waste of my time. So I would cut all of that out because I'm like, I don't really need it. I get it to help paint the picture. But again, like any of these biopic kind of movies, which is not a biopic, but it is Billy Beane, and it's super favorable to Billy Beane. Like, could we not make it to where we're like, this is why his life's so hard, that everyone thought he was great, and then, you know, he wasn't. But that's like, I get it. I just don't care for it. I would have cut the family out too. I would have cut basically everything out except for the main story, because I get it. I understand the kid did really well in her part. Like, it's all touching and everything, but I don't need it in the movie. So I would have just cut it all out and just been like, and also the scene of the 20 game, because it is the climax of it, that could have been 1 minute. And it was like 10 minutes. It's so long. And you're like, oh, we get it. No, they're blowing it. We get it. No, we get he's the jinx. No, we're cool. We get it. Oh, there's a black cloud coming over. Okay, we get it. We're really hitting this on the head, man. We get it. So it's a really well done movie. Again, all those things should be in the movie. If it was me directing it, I would cut all that stuff out, because it's not for me. Like, I don't care about it. But the rest of the movie was really, really good. I enjoyed a lot of it. Yeah, it is funny the end of the movie with when he's like, I didn't go to Boston because, you know, I'm going to finish it. No, you didn't go to Boston because you knew you wouldn't have complete control, and you had complete control because, you know, they're not going to fire you because they can't afford anybody better than you. Like, you went for the safety of the job in Oakland, and that's fine. But there's no way you turn down just even not the money, the ability to have the thing that you wanted the most, which was a real budget. The whole start of the movie is like, you have to give me some money. I can't compete. So I get it. I get the concept of it. It is funny that that Moneyball, it is like, because it's very sabermetrics and all that was so genius. And you're like, it was great. And it basically worked for like 1 year, because once anybody else found out about it, it screwed you. Because like the most telling part of that movie is he goes, there's 25 players. And it's like, that's it. That's what it'll pick you out 20 to 25 players a year that fit it. And now if 30 teams are trying to find the 25 players, now all their prices go up. because now there's a bidding war for the guys that nobody wanted. And so it really changed the game because it did make people look at things differently. But the way that one roster worked, you can't really do once other people got wind of what it was doing. And so it's a really weird anomaly in sports where it changed the game completely because it did bring in more analytics and there's constantly people trying to find other things. But overall, you just can't, once you have a thing that finds such a small group of people, and now, the Red Sox say, well, I mean, they won a title a couple years later because they were like, okay, we can kind of take this and spruce it up with a real budget. So all the guys that they don't mention that they would love to have, but cost, $5-6 million, we can go get all those $5-6 million players. And they can only get the guys that cost $500,000 because their owner is ridiculously cheap. And I don't have them. Yeah, he did. He had the money. He still had the money. He moved the team, and then he moved the team because Oakland is not that small of a market because it's right next to San Francisco. And I know they have the Giants there, but there's a ton of people in Oakland too. And people would show up if you didn't put together a crap team every year because you refused to spend any money. And the only thing you were in baseball for is to get the money back at it. Is a money thing for you, not a sport thing. But that's just because I hate the owner of the A's. But but overall, it was a really good movie. I enjoyed it. How it was all built and put together. I agree with you. The scouts part was really fun to watch the old heads. And I mean, it's movie magic. So it is a part where it's a little over the top of like, we have to have somewhat of a bad guy in this. Mm-hmm. So the bad guy's going to be the scouts. You're like, oh man, don't crap on all of them. I'm sure there's plenty of great scouts and they're still a valuable part of this. But deal, you'll fail. You're going to be a loser like you always were if you do this. You're like, all right, we get it. So I enjoyed the movie. That was really good.
I kind of just thought that it spoke to the old head mentality in baseball in general and how that was affecting the game negatively. And there's still a lot of that to this day, obviously, but it's less so than it was now because of what Billy Beane did. But I thought the other most interesting part of the movie too, and it makes me question sort of how these things are done in real life as opposed to like how accurate it was in the movie.
Yeah.
Was the way that he was negotiating trades with the other GMs. Like I thought that was probably the most fun part of the movie, where he was just jumping from phone call to phone call and trying to work these guys like with a sales mentality. I wonder if that's how it actually works in the real world or if it's a little bit more methodical than that. But if that's the way it works, then like, that's awesome. I thought that was such a cool addition to the movie because like you would think that when you're making a trade for a player, it's like, okay, we're going to sit here and we're going to scout this guy and we're going to come up with our best package. And, we're going to try and, woo him here, woo him there. But now he's just picking up the phone. He's being like, hey, I want this guy. I'll give you this, that, and the other. Now I'm going to call another guy and try and leverage it over here. And I'm going to call another guy and do this. And then I'm going to get my guy I thought that was a really cool addition to the movie.
I thought it was cool. I saw an interview with Shapiro, the actual general manager of the Indians at the time. And he was like, that's not quite how it went down. It was like, I did not really get fleeced that bad. And it wasn't like that. There was a little bit more to it. So I think that that was very much a movie version of it. But on trade deadline day, it is pretty quickly moving, I believe. So I think there is some reality to it. But yeah, there's an interview out there you can find of the actual Shapiro, who was the general manager of Cleveland at the time, who did come out and say that he was like, it's not, that's a bit over the top of how it actually went down. It wasn't that bad. But no, we see it. But and then watching the whole thing, I just keep thinking that Nico Harrison watched that and he's like, no, this is like my thing is defense wins. And then they're going to ostracize me. But when it works, then they're going to make a movie about me and how great I am. And I'll be on the phone and I'll be like, what do you want for Luka Doncic? And they'll be like, we'll give you Anthony Davis and a box of crackers. And he's like, throw in that young star Christie and you got a deal. And it's like, and then it all works out. I mean, it just felt like that's kind of the movie that he thinks he's going to be in, and he's not.
Yeah, no, he's not going to have a job next year. So,
a fun movie there with Moneyball. I appreciate the view of it. I don't think I'll ever watch it again, but I've seen it once now. It was a good movie. It was much better than last week's or 2 weeks ago's movie selection. So I did appreciate it though. And look, this also, you could tell the funny, like Chris Pratt being the first baseman, you see him and then you're like, oh, he's going to have a much bigger role because he's Chris Pratt and he's really famous. And then you remember he wasn't super famous when this movie came out. So that's why he's just kind of in the movie. That it was like, it was an early on his career. When you see him, you just think, oh, that's a major movie star, so he must have a big part. And then he doesn't end up having a huge part in the movie. But an interesting part. But yeah, Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt. It's why you also pay for actors that are very like charismatic, because if you had cast that with some other people, then Billy Bean probably would have come off like a real giant prick. And in this, he was kind of a lovable prick.
Yeah.
But if you cast the wrong guy in that role, then you're just like, wow, Billy Bean sucks. Like, this guy's just a jerk who thinks he knows everything, and he's just stealing ideas from the other guy, and he doesn't have any real, what I mean? So like the way Brad Pitt did a really good job to make him a likable guy who is, just kind of eccentric and out there.
I in terms of Chris Pratt in that movie, I really always enjoy going back to movies from a few years ago and seeing a guy who's not a star yet, but turns into a star, like seeing some of their old roles where they're just like a smaller character. And then now he's blown up to one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. I love that kind of thing. And you could tell back then, like, he really had something, in the tank there with his acting. So that's always cool to me. But I'm kind of interested to see what your pick for the next movie is going to be, because it's your turn, right?
It is my turn, and since we're in basketball mode for the NBA playoffs, I won't go with my favorite basketball movie, but I'll go with a really good basketball movie. I'll go with White Men Can't Jump as our next movie selection. I won't take us fully off the rails into another straight up comedy of pushing it, but I'll go White Men Can't Jump, a classic basketball movie. To get me more in the mood for the playoffs. It's a classic one. I've not seen it in a very, very long time. I think I saw it when I was probably a young adult, maybe still in high school, maybe. So it has been a long time since I've seen the movie. So I'll give it a rewatch for White Men Can't Jump. Have you seen the movie before?
I saw it when I was younger. I have not seen it in a long time. I know that they made a remake, so we have to be sure we're watching the.
We're watching the one. Yeah, I'm not
Harrelson
watching the one with Jack Harlow. No, we're watching the one with Woody Harrelson
sure.
and Wesley Snipes.
I was gonna boycott because I really liked. I remember really liking White Men Can't Jump, so I'm down for that one for sure.
Yes, no, that we're watching the original one. We're not trying to be new school. We're not trying to be hip and with it. We're gonna get the original with the great actors in it.
Good, because there's nothing that bothers me more than a good movie being remade terribly. Really, a good movie being remade in general, but when it's remade terribly, it always pisses me off. Like Roadhouse was one of my favorite
Roadhouse
crappy action movies back in the day. I loved it, and they remade it, and it's just like, I
heard decent things about that remake though, because it wasn't the same thing. So I heard it was decent because they strayed off it enough. I've not seen it, but I've heard that it wasn't, like, if you understood what it wasn't as bad as like the Footloose remake or something like that.
Yeah, like, so I watched it, and if you unplug and you say that if you try and like convince yourself that it's not Roadhouse, then it's an enjoyable movie.
Okay.
But when you realize that you're watching Roadhouse, you're like, damn it, this isn't what I wanted. But like, then there's other movies like that too. Like, they remade my favorite action movie of all time, my favorite 80s, 90s action movie of all time, Point Break. And it was just an absolute disaster, and it pissed me off so much. But I digress.
Yeah, and Rodney, I actually thought about doing Draft Day since it's coming up, but I have a feeling I would really hate that movie. And I don't know why, but I just have a feeling that movie is basically like, here's this thing you really enjoy, and we're going to talk about it a little, and then it's going to have this whole drama that is going to drive you nuts because you could not care less about anything about that. I'm like, I don't care about any of the characters. Talk about football. I don't care about any of these characters. And they're like, well, there's something. I don't care. I genuinely don't care about you. Shut up. So I have a feeling that kind of movie would drive me nuts.
I wonder what my movie next week's going to be.
Hey, you could go with Draft Day, but yeah, that's since we're going with Draft Day, I'm assuming I would hate that movie. I've never seen it. It was one of those movies I've heard I've heard good things about it. I've heard people really like it. but every scene in it, I just never caught me as a movie. I'm also not the biggest Kevin Costner, like late Kevin Costner career guy. Like early Kevin Costner, I liked a lot more, but then late Kevin Costner became hero. And he's like a superhero in every movie. And just, I don't like it. So, that's what I'm saying. I just feel like I wouldn't like the movie. So I am not going to pick the movie. I'm going to pick a movie that I know I will enjoy watching. And I also know it has an under 2 hour runtime. I think it's like 1 minute, 50 something seconds. It's about 56 minutes or something like that. So it's just under 2 hours, but it's under 2 hours. Every movie I pick will have an under 2 hour runtime. I don't know how long draft day is. I've not looked up what the runtime is, but I over 2 hours. That like Moneyball was good, and there was still like 6 times in that movie I stopped and was like, "We're only this far into it? Come on, man! I don't want to sit down."
The thing with draft day for me, and I'm sure like we're gonna have to pick it eventually. I'm sure because it's a sports movie, and there's only so many good sports movies out there. But why did they pick the Cleveland Browns?
Because they were probably the only team that let them do it.
That's probably true.
Like the Browns were like, yeah, what are you going to do? Tarnish our name? Have fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you pick one of the most unlikable franchises in the NFL to do that movie about. It bothered me.
No,
so I haven't seen it.
I've never seen it. I never really desired to see it. And I feel like I would hate it, but who knows? Maybe we'll watch it later this summer and I'll turn out to love it. I probably won't. Yeah. If you say there's tension between the mom and the girlfriend in a football movie, I'm out. I'm done. I don't care about any of that crap. Talk about football. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about football, Matt. Let's get into it. Hour 2 here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself and Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI. You brought up a really good point the other day. We were talking about mock drafts. We were talking about Ashton Jeanty and Ashton Jeanty, how there's more and more rumors that people are starting to really feel good about Ashton Jeanty. And there's more and more people that may have a pressure to go up and try and get Ashton Jeanty. You brought up a very good point. Who has the resources and the willingness to actually move up? And is a realistic option to move up? So I want to talk to you about teams that have the possibility to move up in this draft and the real teams. And I have a list of a few. I'm sure you've got a few. And then there's some rumors about some teams that could do it. But I'd like to start off. If you have a team that you believe maybe rumor wise or just makes sense to you wise, that may be a team that may want to move up in this draft and has a real chance to do so.
Yeah. I mean, it depends where that spot ends up being is where it gets complicated because if the rumors are what they are and like New England or Jacksonville is looking at them, then that's a different number than if somebody's trying to trade up to number 3, just because of the way that the trade value draft chart works.
Yes.
There's certain spots where it's just almost improbable and unfeasible for them to trade up and make those moves.
Yeah.
So when it boils down to it, I think that, if Las Vegas is worried that Jacksonville or New England might take him, then they could potentially have the ammo to move up to number 3 and trade back with New York. But outside of that, I don't know that there's a lot of teams who have the ability to trade up and do that.
Yeah,
and
by the way, we keep hearing rumors that the Browns and Giants are listening. So clearly they're listening, which means somebody is calling. But I'm with you. I don't know who can get all the way up to 2 or 3.
Yeah, and there's another trade rumor that we're going to talk about a little later, I think, that is even more ridiculous to me. But it's really hard to find those teams who have the ammo and the need for Ashton Jeanty to make that move. I think Las Vegas is probably the floor for that. Maybe Carolina if they can get enough together, but I think that they're more likely to trade back for more draft capital than trade up because they need so much more than a running back right now. So it's just kind of hard for me to see how this could actually come into focus unless it's Jacksonville or Las Vegas that moves up to number 3 or number 2.
Yeah. So I'll go with my first team that I think has a legitimate chance to trade up. Now, how far that is in question. And I don't think they could trade it for Ashton Jeanty. I don't think they can make it all the way up to him. But I think they could trade up to get something of the premier variety that they want. And that's the 49ers. 49ers are sitting at 11. Still a really good pick. They have 11 picks in this draft. They have a lot of capital. They may be willing to move some stuff next year as well. They've known to trade a lot to move up to get a guy they really want. Now, do I think they're going to go try and get Travis Hunter? No. Or Ashton Jeanty? I don't think they're going to try and go full out for that. But they could say, we really want the best tackle in this draft, or we want the best DB in this draft, or we really want somebody in this draft, and we think they're going to be gone before they get to us. So we're going to trade up to 6, or we're going to trade with Jacksonville, or we're going to trade with the Raiders. And if Ashton Jeanty goes at 4, and now the Raiders may be more willing to listen to a trade back, because maybe they say, well, yeah, the guys we want are like, we could listen to Sanders talk, we could listen to Ted McMillan, we could listen to a couple guys, but they might even be there at 11, so we move back to 11 to go look at those guys. The 49ers are a team that I think could try and make some big moves, because they're just in such flux right now, and they're in such a weird place that they threw everything at the wall to try and get this to work, and it didn't. And they weren't able to get over the hump. And now they're on this edge of trying to pay Brock Purdy, but they may move on from Brock Purdy. If you keep hearing Brock Purdy wants to get paid like a top 5 quarterback, and there's no one in the league that thinks he's a top 5 quarterback. And so they want to pay him like the 15th, 16th best quarterback in the league, what they think he is, which is, you're a good quarterback, but we put people around you. You're going to be at a good place, and we'll always try and win with you. But you cannot be treated like you're going to make 70, 60, 70 million, because we can't compete with you making that much, because you are not going to win us games. And so that conversation may end up with Brock Purdy not being a 49er at the end of the day. And then there's even more flux in this 49ers. So I could see them trying to figure out something where John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are just like, we have to do something. There has to be something, because we can't let this sink completely. We have to figure out something to try and keep this going. But that's it. And they have the 11 picks, which is the most in the draft, tied with Baltimore. I think they both have 11. So there's a lot of picks that they have that they can make something a little bit sweeter and give up something for next year.
Do you have a spot in mind where you think San Francisco would trade up specifically?
I think you would aim to get up to 6, because you want to go before the Jets. Because I think the big one they would want to go all offensive linemen, but I think the Jets would be the team that would scare them of what they want to get ahead of, because the Jets are around the team of could draft an offensive lineman, could draft a wide receiver. They could draft anything. And so I think you feel pretty good about, if you don't get in those top 5, and the value I think drops a little bit at 6-2, that maybe that's right where in that sweet spot.
Okay, so just looking at the trade value chart, that's something that could potentially make sense, because they only have to make up 350 points in the value chart. Yeah, which would be their first round pick at 11, probably their third round pick at 75, which brings you a little bit closer, and then you probably have to throw in a 4th and a 5th round pick as well to kind of get to around that number. So it's still a lot, but then if you do that, you still have, the pick that you're getting back from Las Vegas. And then, so you've still got 8 picks basically. So that's something that could definitely be in the cards for sure. And it wouldn't surprise me. They do have a history of trying to go get the guy they want. I would be interested to see who they got in that situation at 6. My guess would be in that situation that Ashton Jeanty's gone at 4 or 5, which means either Will Campbell or Mason Graham goes at the other spot. Yeah. And I would assume that it would be Will Campbell. So maybe you're trying to go up and make sure that you get Kelvin Banks, because you don't need another defensive tackle as much as you need an offensive tackle. That's a good spot. I think that's absolutely something that's realistic for sure.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at that as well this could be a trade up and try and get your wide receiver. It could be, it could be a trade up and we want Will Johnson really bad, and we think he may go. We think that Aaron Glenn may take Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson at 7. Like, all those are realistic things that they could be somebody you're aiming for, and that's the guy you really feel is going to transform your club. And we just kind of want to make a splash too. I think those are all realistic things with a team with 11 picks. They have more things they need to fill, but if you're able to move up and get your guy as opposed to waiting for him at 11, you may go with that one. Another team I'll throw at you, which, first of all, apologies to the Texans. I love this team. I talk about this team all the time, and I kept talking about them not having a number 2 receiver. They have a number 2 receiver. They traded for Christian Kirk already. They have a number 2 receiver. I completely forgot about that trade.
I feel
Christian
like,
Kirk's a number
he's
two.
more of an. I feel like he's more of a number 3.
He's a number 2. He's not a great number 2, but he's a number 2. Now, you'd like to move him to number 3. You'd like to have another guy in there competing in that range. I agree 100%. I'd still love to get a wide receiver in the first go rounds, but it's not as dire as I was remembering in my head because I completely forgot about that trade. And it's in all the coverage and everything else we do. Sometimes I'm still an idiot. So I completely forgot about that. And so I had him out. But this could be another one at 20, where they're 25, that this is a team that, again, not afraid to make trades. Now, I think they don't move up into, I don't think they make the huge splash and try and trade up to, 7 or 8 or try and get in the top 10. But I think they could move up into that top 15 and say, we really want to get a wide receiver, or we really want to get one of these offensive linemen. And we have a player we have our eye on. And, whether it be Mimbo, whether it be if Kelvin Banks is still on the board, if it be, one of those guys is still there and they see him at 13, 14 and they want to make up that space, or if there's a wide receiver and Matthew Golden doesn't go at 12 to the Cowboys, and maybe they see Matthew Golden and say, this is a guy that we can put on this team and possibly be our number 2 for the next several years. And he's a Houston kid and it'll be a great story. And if we can go get him at 13, 14, that's the pick we want to go get him at. So, I mean, those are, I think, is a realistic look that the Texans could try and make something happen to try and get up a few more spots to go get their guy instead of waiting at 25. And at 25, you maybe sit back and say, well, none of these offensive linemen are really going to start for us this year and make a huge difference. And none of these guys that we're going to get in are necessarily going to make a huge difference this season. And that's what we want. But if we move up 10 spots, then we can get a playmaker that we feel is going to make a difference this season.
Okay, so I was just doing some quick math. So Atlanta holds the number 15 pick.
Yes.
So if you're saying top 15, let's go with number 15.
Okay.
The number 15 pick is worth 1,050 points on the value chart, and there's 2 different routes the Texans could go to reach that number with Atlanta. They could either go with their 2 third-round picks, which would be numbers. Hold on a second. Which would be numbers 79 and 89, and that gets you to 1060. So in that scenario, you could even get back a maybe a 6th rounder from Atlanta, or maybe a 7th rounder or something. So you get a little bit extra back in that situation.
Yeah.
They could also just straight up trade their 2nd round pick, which is worth 320 points. And that would also get you pretty close to that number. You might have to throw another pick in there, like that's going to be kind of tight. But there's 2 different routes you could go in that situation. If I'm Houston, I probably go with the 2 third-round picks, just because the 2nd round pick has a higher upside to it typically, and you could still. So let's say they want to trade up for Kelvin Banks at 15, they could go that route, and then they still have their 2nd round pick to try and get a wide receiver like a Luther Burden or somebody like that. I think that's probably the better route to go. So definitely, again, another super realistic situation there. And they have a history of especially recently, of making some aggressive moves in moving up to get the guy that they want. So it would not surprise me to see them do it again.
Yeah. So that's, that level too. And also there's always a world of the chart, which is really useful to have, of the draft value chart. That also does get swayed a bit because every year, how many players got 1st round grades, how many players have 2nd round grades. And so if you're looking at it and saying, well, there's 3 more players that we have on the board with 1st round grades at pick 18, that pick's worth a lot more than pick 19, where there's no more picks on the board. And now you're saying, well, everyone's a 2nd round grade, so we don't care. Like, we're not valuing this as a 1st round pick anymore. So we're not going to give you value. And we know you don't value it as a 1st round pick anymore. So that's where you start to have those conversations of, saying you don't judge. Neither one of us think that there's anybody worth what we would say a 19th pick is. So I'm not paying you for a 19th pick. I'm paying you for a 28th pick, which is more than you should be getting for it. And those conversations, so it's not an exact science, but it is good to have because it gives you a framework to build off of and then base what you go off of. I could also see the Texans, if they're giving up 2/3, one would probably be from 2026. So you're probably giving up one from this year, one from next year, keeping your one from this year. So you can still go 1, 2, 3 in this year's draft, but only take one in the third this year and then give up one next year and see if you can recoup that some other way down the line or pick up something else down the line.
And that's something that the trade value chart doesn't necessarily take into account is future picks, which is another thing that these teams are probably going to utilize, especially in this kind of a situation, because ideally you don't want to give up your entire third round to go up and get a guy in the first round. But like you said, it's a framework and it gives us kind of a perspective on how teams are going to look at this in general.
Another team that we'll look at, and I'll get you too if you have any teams that you think are very likely, and we'll talk about the rumors as well. But I'll go another team. I think Buffalo is a team that really feels like they have one issue that they want to address in this draft. And if Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron is available still at a point where they can get to it, I think you could see them try and trade up and get Jahdae Barron or Will Johnson we need to fix this secondary. We've tried to fix this secondary a couple times. Let's add a piece that we think could be a big piece to help us with that. They could look a different direction as well, but I think they feel like they're a couple pieces away. And as late in the first round as they are, they're probably not getting that piece. So maybe leverage a little bit more to go get that. They don't necessarily have as many holes to fill. They can fill some guys with undrafted free agents. They can go sign some other free agents. They're not necessarily as built to need a lot more. So they may only have a couple pieces they need, and they may go up and try and get that.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Buffalo is one of those teams that's like right on the cusp of right there. So they have the luxury to trade a little bit more draft capital maybe to go and get that guy and compete right now. Whereas a team like, a New Orleans or one of these teams that's in the top half of the first round, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to justify trading all this draft capital to go get a player that they really want because they still have so many other holes to fill. So I can certainly see it. I don't know what picks they would trade because they do have 2 second-round picks, which, adds up to about 510 points. So you could theoretically trade one of those and then a future pick and then maybe a 4th-round pick in there to move up a few spots. But it's going to cost you a lot more to move up into the, 12, 13, 14, 15 range where Barron and Will Johnson might still be available. So it'll depend on what happens with the way that the corner rush kind of goes. Like if Jahdae Barron's picked in the top 10, this is going to be a heck of a lot more difficult for them to pull off because Will Johnson's definitely going to go in the top 15. But we have seen mock drafts where Jahdae Barron is available in the 20s. So if that's the case, then it's a lot more realistic of a situation. You can pounce on it.
And that's kind of where it is. Like, and we can get into Todd McShay, I believe, had him at 24 today. So a lot of people have him going to the Vikings, which sometimes is a fit for the Vikings, but that's him sliding down a little bit. And now, he hits 20. And if you're Buffalo and Jahdae Barron's at 20, you may really start picking up the phone and going, well, we can get up there. We can get to 21, 22 and go get our guy that we feel is we have as a top 10 pick. We have a top 15 pick, and he's slid a little bit. We can go get him. One more team I'll throw at you, which is interesting one that I don't think will make the trade. I think they have enough pieces they still need to put together, but they have been aggressive before. I wonder if the Denver Broncos will try to get in the Ashton Jeanty sweepstakes. And it would be very, very hard from their position to do it. They'd have to give up a future first to do it.
Probably,
But you talk about a team that if you look at everything that they've kind of put together and where Sean Payton doesn't feel he's got to wait for this, he thinks he got his quarterback in Bo Nix. He feels ready to go right now. That if they say, man, we just want that running back. We really want that running back, and I don't want to worry about it anymore. So let's go give it up. Let's go get our running back. And Ashton Jeanty, is that a team that is willing to throw caution to the wind and say we're willing to make a top 4 pick of Ashton Jeanty and call the Patriots and offer them a truckload of picks and players to try and get to somewhere to jump all the way up from 20 to 4. And I don't know if they would do that because I think they're not quite as close as they may think they're quite as close as. I don't know if they're that one piece away from really being able to compete and go atop their division and all of a sudden be in a different stratosphere. But Sean Payton has been that way. We know the Denver Broncos have in the past been gamblers, and it's cost them at sometimes. They haven't always made good decisions gambling. So I'm curious. I'm curious if that may be a team to look out for. So maybe a sleeper team to make a trade up.
Yeah, it would be. I think it would be a lot harder for them to draft to trade up into the top 4. If Genty is available at 6 with Las Vegas, then I think that's probably a more realistic situation for them to trade up, just because you're talking about a difference of, a couple hundred points there, 300 points. So, yeah, I mean, there probably have to be a future first in there somewhere, or a player or something like that could sweeten the deal and make it a little bit more palatable for whatever team they're trading up with. But you're absolutely right. They feel like they're a running back away from being a real contender. Do I buy that? Maybe. I mean, it depends on what Bo Nix looks like in year 2, honestly.
Yes.
Because we've seen a ton of rookie quarterbacks come out and have great years, and then teams get film on them and they get to study them in the offseason, and it's not the same after that. And it would be a very, very interesting fit if they were somehow able to find a way to get Ashton Genty. I think that my personal opinion is that they would be just fine sitting at 20 and getting an Amari and Hampton and not having to give away all that capital in the future.
Yes.
But Sean Payton is a gambler, and if he really thinks that Ashton Genty is the next, superstar running back, which there's one of in this class, then and that's what he wants, then he's not going to be afraid to mortgage the house and go get it.
No, and I think the thought process may be as well a little bit of, well, we're going to reach on Amari and Hampton. Like, because we need a running back, and so we're going to go get the second best guy, and we're going to reach for him because he's a second-round grade. But we're going to take him at 20 because someone else is going to take him before we get to, and we don't know that right level, and someone's going to get him. So instead of waiting and gambling in that sense and saying we'll gamble and hope that no one trades up to 19, that they know we want him, and someone else will trade up to 19 and take him in front of us, we just be proactive. We say, look, we're gonna basically waste a first-round pick on this guy anyway. That should be a second-round pick because we have to go get him. So why not bet the house and go get Ashton Genty and say, screw it, we're going to go for it and go. I think that Sean Payton is the right type of coach. Denver is the right kind of organization to try and make that splash, to try and regain relevancy, because even though you had Bo Nix and played well last year, Bo Nix didn't necessarily sell you the tickets. But I think a Bo Nix on a good season and an Ashton Genty now sells you a lot more tickets. So I think that there's some interesting points as a sleeper team. Now, the question is that what the Patriots want to go into as future picks? And because I think the Patriots, that's a pick you have to go to. If you're trading for Ashton Genty, now you could say, we'll wait till 5 and see if he goes at 4 and call, and have a deal kind of worked out with the Jags. But then you run the course of everyone in the league knows that deal's worked out. So the Raiders just trade up to 4. And then everything falls apart. I think if you go to 4, you're pretty much guaranteed to get him. Because I don't know. I know Cleveland and the Giants will field calls and all of that. I just don't see them necessarily giving up all that for Ashton Genty at that pick for a 2 or 3. I think 4 would be much safer. And you're also doing it on draft day, so it just becomes harder and harder to get that second and third pick. So I think that's kind of where you have to be at. And maybe all that's craziness. Maybe someone else trades up. I don't know. Because at that point too, if you're trading up and passing Travis Hunter to get Ashton Genty, that feels like a mistake. And you know what I mean? So I think there's a certain line in the sand. And if you pass an Abdul Carter to get Ashton Genty, it feels like a mistake. It feels like there's some guys that are just better than him in everybody's grades. So if you're drafting by grade and who's going to be an impact player, those guys are still ahead of him. But I think 4 is where that sits. And so it'd be interesting to see if somebody has the balls to go up and say, we think he's this great player, we're going to go get him. I know that the Cowboys have been talked about that, and the Cowboys have been talked about moving up even higher because I can't. You sent me the rumor of who it was, right? Who put the rumor out there? Who was the rumor that the Cowboys may be going all the way up?
Yeah, Todd McShay on his podcast, it was either today or yesterday. They were talking about how Cleveland and New York were both shopping their picks, and who could possibly be the team that is talking to them and possibly moving up for Travis Hunter. And they said it was the only thing that makes sense to them is the Cowboys. And like, I get it from a fit perspective, because if the Cowboys can move up and get Travis Hunter, you know, he's the second coming of Deion Sanders in their eyes, for one thing.
Yeah.
He fills two of their biggest three needs with one pick, which would be huge, because he's going to be a top line wide receiver and a corner. The problem, Patrick, is that, let's say you're trying to move up to number 2, you're basically going to have to you're going to have to do one of two things. You're going to have to trade basically your entire allotment of draft picks this year to even get close to the value of that number, because you don't have the same amount of picks as a San Francisco or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you have to put a player in there to help sweeten the deal. And here's where that gets interesting, because the only player who I think on that roster is legitimately up for trade, that they could sweeten the deal enough to move up all the way to number 2 or number 3, is Micah Parsons. I don't think they're going to trade Micah Parsons to the New York Jets. So to the Giants. I meant the Giants.
Giants.
So yeah, to the Giants at 3. You're not going to trade him within the division. So that only leaves Cleveland as the potential trade partner.
Yeah.
And all that makes me think of is that old Alex Jones of sports guy from Cleveland that floated the Dak Prescott rumor. And that, like, I hate to give that guy any credit, but maybe he was kind of onto something and he was just talking about the wrong player.
I will tell you, I think there's another player that has a lot of value, but not as much as Micah, but has a lot of value, which is Deron Bland. And I think Deron Bland's part of that deal, because I'd say Deron Bland is now, cap-wise, super affordable to do right now, because he just isn't getting paid anything right now. So the trade-wise for Cleveland, cool. We can take him on without having to worry about, you take on Micah Parsons, you got to cut some players or give some players back or do whatever else to try and fit underneath that cap again, right?
Yeah.
Because you're already paying Myles Garrett $900 million for every snap he takes. So you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do. Now, you have the most deadly pass rush in the history of mankind with Micah and Myles Garrett on the two sides. But I mean, does that matter? In the grand scheme of things, you're going to pass rush and people just run through the middle a lot because you run at Micah or because everybody knows you can run at Micah. I think Deron Bland makes more sense in that deal. I like the theory of it, by the way, Matt. I do like it. But I think Deron Bland just makes more sense in that deal because he is a really good player, because there's not a chance in hell he would sign with Cleveland out of the bank. But maybe if you get him in the house, you can get him to sign a long-term deal because you'll then offer him as an extension. So you can then get him to stay in, kind of the Toronto Raptors method of signing players. We have to trade for them because there's no way in hell we're getting anybody to sign with Toronto.
Yeah.
So that concept, if you get a Deron Bland in there, now you're still throwing in a ton more. Like, I'm not saying that is the equal out of any way, but if you say you're giving up your pick at 12, next year's first, and Deron Bland, that feels a little bit closer. Now there's more into it, but I'm just saying that's a little bit closer because you're talking about Deron Bland, who is a former Defensive Player of the Year nominee. He's in that, had that one season and then played well when he came back from injury last year. So that puts you in there. Now, does that leave you with Deron Bland no longer being there? So Travis Hunter really has to be your star corner going into next year. We also keep forgetting about Kalen Carson, who had a really good year before he got hurt. I think they feel good about Kalen Carson. Jerry Jones mentioned him some the other day, that they're like, we have Kalen Carson too. Like, that dude was pretty good. Like, yeah, Kalen Carson was a good pickup. So I think they feel like they're kind of okay, but that would be the name I would throw in. Micah Parsons, with everything going on with his impending free agency, like, I think Cleveland knows full stop he would not re-sign there. Like, cool, I'll just go into free agency. Like, I don't care. You just traded me, and then, like, I think Deron Bland, there's a better story to be told of, well, we can call Deron Bland, and at least if this trade's being broached And now if it's on draft day and it's, you're talking about doing the minute, maybe not because he's not signed a long-term deal and they don't want to make that. But if you're talking about that deal right now, where Jerry Jones says he's in a lot of conversations about trades, that maybe you have that. And then Cleveland can talk to Deron Bland, say, would you have interest in re-signing if we traded for you? Can we have that conversation and talk to your agent and say, maybe you come here and the Cowboys ain't going to give you a new deal. They haven't even talked to you. So why don't you come here? I think that one just makes more sense in the scheme of when you're trying to find something of value. But Micah Parsons, I'm with you. I love the Dak Prescott, but then you have to be able to get Shador and then, fire Shoddy immediately and sign Deion Sanders. And then you get Travis Hunter, Shador, and Deion all on your team. And then we can all just laugh as they fall into it.
It's my nightmare.
Man, Jerry Jones asked Jerry Jones about Nico Harrison at his press conference. It was great. He's like, well, I love basketball, and seems like he's going through a hard time right now.
A little bit of a hard time.
You don't want to say anything. But yeah, I'm with you. It's an interesting move. I don't think the Cowboys do it. All that is to be said, I don't think the Cowboys do it because it's just risking so much. And I don't think Cleveland does it. I don't think either team does it. Because if you're Cleveland and you make that trade, you have to sell to your fan base you passed on a generational talent for a guy who had one good season and some picks. And I don't know if Cleveland buys into that. So now you're already pissed off because of everything else of you live in Cleveland. And then you have to have that news happen to you as well. I don't know if the Browns would buy it. Browns ownership, I don't feel would buy into that.
No, I don't think they would either. That's why I mentioned Micah Parsons, because that's something that the ownership and the fan base could get excited about at least. But like you said, I still don't see it happening. That is a extremely aggressive move for a team that doesn't typically do those kinds of things. So, it's an interesting idea. Like Travis Hunter on the Cowboys, if there's one player, and I hate throwing around the perfect fit, that whole thing, because I think there's very few people who you could say are actually a perfect fit for any team. And those are like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Randy Moss, like that kind of stuff, Jerry Rice. So I don't throw that around very often, but it's about as close to a perfect fit that you're going to get in this draft if you're the Dallas Cowboys and Travis Hunter. So that's the one thing where I get it, but you just have to do so much and be so aggressive and to do all those things to move up. It just doesn't seem very realistic.
All right. So if you're the Cowboys then, and you are talking about trading up, at what spot would they possibly trade up to and for what player?
That's an interesting question. I could see them trading up into the top 10 with maybe a team like Carolina. I think that Carolina would be okay moving back a little bit and still getting an edge rusher or another player that they could throw out there. But I think that your cap is probably 8 or 9, maybe with the Jets at 7, but probably 8 or 9. And you still have to give up a little bit to go up and do that. But in that situation, I think it's kind of dependent on a couple of things. One being maybe Ted McMillan goes a little bit sooner than you thought. So you think that you're going to have to trade up to get your wide receiver. Or maybe the Cowboys actually really want to get an offensive tackle. So they decide that they're going to move up and get like a Kelvin Banks or an Armand Membo. Yeah. Those are the names where if they trade up that I would be expecting them to see. Or, and obviously based on everything that we've heard in recent days, especially, it doesn't seem very realistic. But if for some reason Ashton Jeanty is still available at 7 or 8, then that's something that I think the Cowboys would be like, okay, we're going to go do this. Yeah. I don't think they would trade up any higher than that, though.
Yeah, and we do know Jerry said yesterday, too, they didn't think they had a running back problem last year. They thought they had an offensive line problem, which, I mean, he's not entirely wrong, but he's also wrong.
He's half wrong.
Yes. Like, the offensive line could have been better, but, yeah, to say you did not have a running back problem is also crazy. Jane Slater does a great job reporting. She put out a couple names earlier that she said the Cowboys were very interested in that she keeps hearing about, which is Ted McMillan, which is Walter Nolan, which is not hugely surprising. He's a little higher than a lot of people are having him going. But if they trade back, Walter Nolan, I think, becomes much more of a prospect there. James Pierce, they're saying is probably not a first-round pick because he has some issues off the field from Tennessee. So they like him, but that would be a second-round pick. They also have Matthew Golden. And then the running back she mentions, which would be a late second-round pick, I believe, is where she says, would be Bashul Tutin, the guy out of Virginia Tech, is apparently the name that they really like at running back, which is not necessarily the name any Cowboys fans want to hear as the name that they really like at running back, but it is the name that apparently Jane Slater says they like at running back.
Yeah, it's not the household name like Omarion Hampton or Trevion Henderson or Quinshaw Judkins would be, or Nash and Genty, obviously. But
yeah,
I mean, he's a really good running back. You just don't like the casual fan who is looking for the Cowboys to draft all these big names is expecting something a little different. And most people, when they hear the Cowboys at number 44 have drafted Brayshawn Tutin, they're going to be like, who? But then when he gets on the field, you'll see it. He's a really good player, and he would deserve to go in that spot. The Walter Nolan thing does surprise me a little bit. I know they want another defensive tackle. I feel like that's more of a second round need for them, though, just based on everything else that they need.
Yeah.
Even if they trade back a little bit, it still feels like a little bit of a bad, not a bad move, because he's going to be a really good player, but he doesn't fill the need that you absolutely have to fill in this draft. And I know that there's all of the people who are just saying best player available. It's like, yeah, I get that. Like you want to get the best player you can possibly get, but you also don't want to double down on a position where you're actually kind of okay right now. And you have these other glaring holes where you desperately need a player, and that guy could still be the best player available on your board. But if there is any person on the Cowboys beat who has their finger to the pulse, it's Jane Slater. So if she says they're interested in Walter Nolan, I buy it. I just would not prefer it.
I think the Walter Nolan one is a trade back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is we say Ashton Janty goes at 4. Tet McMillan goes at 6 to the Raiders. So now your number one wide receiver is off the board. Someone trades up to get Matthew Golden ahead of you, knowing that you want Matthew Golden. Now you sit there and you say, all right, well, we like Kelvin Banks. He went to number 7 to the Jets. And, more and more of these players are just like all the positions you need. And so a bunch of edges are falling to you, and a bunch of, DBs and stuff that you're not necessarily looking for are starting to fall, and that best player available. Defensive tackle starts to jump to the front of the line. You may be able to trade back at that point, trade back 8 or 6, 7 picks, and then get Walter Nolan at 20, 21, something like that. And feel a little bit better about yourself, because then you call the Steelers and go, are you worried about not getting Shador? Well, get Shador at 12. And we'll jump back to 21, and we feel better about taking a Walter Nolan at 21, and we'll be okay with that. So I think that's the case, but that is the name. And again, I trust Jane Slater. She's always done a good job reporting on these things. So they may not have him again as a first-round grade. They may not have him as their top guy, but clearly it's somebody that if he's available, they're going to take a look at.
Yeah, but also in that situation, like I totally understand what you're saying, and I buy into it 100%. I'm going to preface what I'm about to say with that. But even in that situation, just me personally, if I'm sitting at 21, I would still rather go get a Mecca Ibuka.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. No, that makes sense.
Or a Jade Barron, or, something like that, where I'm not – I think that Walter Nolan is head and shoulders above the kind of player that Taco Charlton or Mozzie Smith is. But I am like how you're tired of the Texans drafting offensive linemen in the first round. I'm tired of the Cowboys drafting defensive tackles in the first round.
I'm with you on that.
So that's kind of where I sit on all this from a macro perspective. Just don't just anything else.
Anything else, please. Yeah. All right. I'm with you on that. Real quick before we go to break, we were going to do Jordan Reed for the last 2 days, but now it's going to be old news. We'll get into better drafts as we get closer. But I do, since it was a 7-round mock draft, want to give you where you had the Longhorns. So that's the mock draft we'll go into today. Is Jordan Reed's over at ESPN did a 7-round mock, but I'll give you where you had the Longhorns, and we'll just go through that for today since we're getting close to the end of the show. Kelvin Banks is his first Longhorn off the board at number 11 to the 49ers. Kelvin Banks starting to slide up these mock drafts pretty aggressively. You're starting to hear people trading up to get Kelvin Banks. Feels crazy how maybe that information was a little bit different than it was 2 weeks ago. But Kelvin Banks, your number one. Number 13, Jade Barron to the Dolphins. A lot of smoke with this one right now after everything that happened with Jalen Ramsey moving on. I mean, I don't know. They may be looking at wide receiver, though, too, because Tyreek Hill is being a menace to society right now. His contract's a little weird as it gets down the stretch. I don't know if they might be getting close to moving off of Tyreek Hill at some point soon and are just waiting for the waters to cool a little bit before those trade talks start. And then number 18, Matthew Golden to the Seahawks. Seahawks apparently like Texas. A lot of players I've seen Kelvin Banks mock to them. I've seen Jade Barron mock to them. I've seen Quinn Ewers mock to them. I've seen Matthew Golden mock to them. So I've seen a lot of players mocked to the Seahawks. In the second round, Alfred Collins is going to the Chargers. In the third round, at pick 72, Andrew Makuba goes to the Bears. Are you starting to get on that? Someone I haven't mentioned yet?
Yes.
In the fourth round, Cam Williams heads to the Panthers at 114. At 115, Barron Sorrell to the Cardinals. And at 122, Vernon Broughton off the board to the Broncos. Someone a name I still haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, there is someone who used to.
How about his name? Number 123, Jaden Blue going to the Steelers. Still someone I still haven't said their name yet? All right, What about this name? Number 126, Gunnar Helm to the Jaguars. And then pick 135 in the fourth round, Quinn Ewers to the Miami Dolphins.
I believe in his last mock draft before this one, he had Quinn as like a 6th or a 7th rounder.
Yeah, so he's moved up.
So he has moved up. Maybe he watched the John Gruden thing. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I still feel like fourth round is not completely unrealistic for Quinn. I still feel like that's pretty low, though.
Yeah, I think it's a little low. I think it's also hilarious if he is the 11th Longhorn drafted. That feels a little off to me, but
11 and 4 rounds seems like a little bit of a stretch. Yeah.
And then one more pick in the 6th round, they have Jake Majors going to the Chargers. And so that is 12 Longhorns drafted. This still begs the question. 12 is now what we're seeing in most people's 7-round mock drafts. And most people are putting around 12 players being drafted for the Longhorns, but that does omit Isaiah Bond. And with everything happening with Isaiah Bond right now, it has cooled down a little bit. We haven't heard as much. If you're picking, we can ask this again tomorrow too, when I'm sure there'll be a little bit more talk about it tomorrow as we get to actual draft day and there's people all in the same room. What percentage chance do you give that Isaiah Bond is drafted tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but over the weekend?
Based on the reports that have come out about his situation, I have a hard time seeing it happening. Okay. So I'm going to go 5%.
5%. I think I put about 20% because I think there's teams that don't care about anything. They would just willingly take the chance for a first, second round talent in the 7th round, 6th, 7th round, and just be like, if he doesn't work out, we'll just cut him. And like we'll take the smoke storm for a little bit. We'll talk about our good picks. We won't even bring him in for an introductory or do anything else, but we'll draft him because we don't want him to be able to pick where he goes, because then he's going to go to someone we hate. We know that, so we'll just go ahead and pick him. I could see that, but it does feel more and more like the reports are no one's going to touch him until he gets his stuff settled. There may be a mandate from the NFL that says do not touch this guy until he gets settled, and then we'll figure it out from there. But let's not add this to a beautiful weekend on draft weekend and take the spotlight away from these players who really get it. It's going to be an interesting pull for everybody, because that was 13 players drafted with Isaiah Bond. Feels like it's 12, which is still a record. So maybe he's just helping the Longhorns, make a beatable record. He doesn't want to make it too outlandish. That's
yeah. I just, the stuff that came out is really bad.
Yes.
Obviously that's one side of the story, and I'm not going to speculate one way or the other on what's actually true, but just based on what has been said, I can't think of very many NFL franchises that would want to touch that anyway.
Yeah, we will see coming up this weekend. We're going to take our second break real quick. We'll come back. We'll get into a little bit of NBA if we have a little bit of time, and our meathead of the day as we wrap things up here on a Wednesday afternoon, getting ready to go out and check a good show tonight. I'll tell you about that too. If you want to go out and catch a good show tonight, some rock and roll. I'll tell you about that as well when we come back here on Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
The best sports bar in Austin, Texas, USA, America is Cover 3. They've got everything you're looking for in a great sports bar. TVs everywhere, so there's not a bad seat in the house, and they've got the right games on. You're not going to have to ask the bartenders, the waitresses, the waiters for the game that you want to watch. They know the games that you want to watch, and the food. My goodness, that's what separates Cover 3 from the other sports bars out there. An upscale menu with tons of great items. You got to try the Sean Adams prime rib sandwich. They've got the filet mignon. They've got the fish tacos. Of course, all of the sports bar classics like wings and nachos as well. Great burgers, great salads. I'm telling you, something for everyone. Of course, the full bar happy hour prices, the weekend brunch. You got to check them out. Anderson Lane, Round Rock, and San Antonio, and of course, Cover 2, 183 and Lake Creek. It's Cover 3, dining, spirits, sports.
Hi, I'm Dan Covert with my wife Hayden. Welcome to Covert BK.
Our newest location in the gorgeous Hill Country includes Buick, GMC, Cadillac, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and hundreds of pre-owned and certified vehicles for you to choose from. We have 3 service departments that are ready to take care of your car, truck, or SUV with 86 service bays to accommodate any repair and get you in and out quickly. Come visit us today to select the vehicle you've been dreaming about.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Shout out to Leaf Landscape Supply, a full service and wholesale and retail plant nursery and landscape supplier here in the ATX. They have 2 terrific locations. Y'all should check both of them out. If you're up north, hit up the one on Pond Springs Road. If you're down south, hit up the one off Monterey Oaks and 290. If you're looking for large quantities of supplies to fulfill any landscaping job, trendy house plants, a collection of specialty plants and rare plants, Leaf Landscape Supplies, your one-stop shop for everything you need. Go to their website at leaflandscapesupply.com so you can check it out before you get there what you want. And when you do get there and you're in the checkout line, let them know your boy Zay Collier put you on, the boys at Texas Sports Unfiltered, and you get 10% off. 10% off, can't beat that at Leaf Landscape Supply.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
I got this, Dad. This is Camilla McKay, and my dad can help with any TV or stereo needs you have around your house. Just call him, and he will come to you with advice and a great price. And the guys that work for him are awesome. They can install anything, anywhere. So, like my dad says, just relax and smile. We handle all the work.
So just give us a call at 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered, getting to the end of the show. Matt, are we good? We good, Matt? Matt making some faces over there. As we get closer. Oh, no, his internet dropped. I thought he might be losing out a little bit. We'll see if we get him to get back on before the end of the show. I think his internet was starting to go out or something to that effect. As we get into it, I do want to plug a show tonight. If y'all want to come out and join me tonight at Antone's. I'll be at Antone's tonight celebrating Jelly Ellington's album release show. Jelly's a good friend of mine, put out a really great album called Glow. You can check out and stream right now, but he'll be playing tonight at Antone's. So come check that show out. I'll be down there tonight if you want to come say hey. It'll be a fun show tonight, but I think early enough. I think he plays around 9. So, not all nighter. They're not going on at midnight like I used to when I was younger. So we'll go through that. But good times going through that. Let's see if we have any time to talk about NBA. Let's see if we'll just talk about the NBA games happening tonight. We saw some games last night. The Pacers get their win, the Thunder win, no surprise there, and the Lakers even up their series. But as we continue on, the Magic taking on the Celtics tonight, hoping the Magic can make it somewhat of a game over there on TNT. The Heat and Cavs, I think this series is not going to be much. But then we get that game 2 of the Warriors and Rockets. I've heard that that this is going to be a big series. This is a big series for the Rockets, that the Rockets may be at a point where they feel that this is kind of it, that if they lose these first couple of games, they could already be starting to go into panic mode of what this offseason means. And I'm somewhat intrigued by if the Rockets lose, will they make a gigantic trade this offseason? Because they're just like, we're clearly not prepared for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I have audio back now, so thank you for being patient with me. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, I mean, we've heard these rumors about like Kevin Durant potentially being interested in going to Houston via trade or free agency.
I saw the one today that I think is even better. If you can make it work, go get Devin Booker from the Suns. Forget Kevin Durant. Go big. Get Devin Booker. That would be deadly on this team.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I don't necessarily buy into the panic mode thing because I think they're a really good young team. And I would be hesitant to sort of mortgage their future for one player. But that being said, if you can go out and get Devin Booker, that's a different conversation. Kevin Durant's one thing because he's aging and he's not the same. He's still a very good player, but he's not the same as he used to be. Devin Booker is something different. So,
yeah, no, I get that. That's what I'm saying. I think you'd have to give up some, but I'm giving up Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet and some other young pieces. I got 20 players on this roster that can play. I got Reed Shepard, who's not even cracking the roster right now. I'm fine playing him next year or trading him. I got to make some moves to bring in a superstar on this team because you're a superstar short right now, and Devin Booker is that guy. Let's get to our meathead of the day. This is a great video. There's not really a meathead. Maybe there's meatheads in this. I just love the turn in this video. It made me laugh so much that I did laugh out loud if I can find the right thing to pull up. This is I just want you to think of what you expect is going to happen and then what does happen in this interview here, Matt. Oop. Why are we not getting that on there? Is everything broken now? Let me see. Why are we not getting that on there? Why are we not? What is happening? Everything's broken, Matt. I have no idea what just happened. Let's try this one more time. Let's try one more time to put this in and see if it actually adds it in there. No, we're not going to get this to work today. We'll play this tomorrow because you have to see the video for this to actually work, and the video is not popping up on our screen for some reason. I don't know what is happening with all our 10% of this. We do have a tease. It is a great video. It is a wonderful video, and I wish you guys could see it right now. But we'll see it tomorrow as we get into it. It is so yeah, NBA tonight is going to be fun. Jelly Ellington show tonight is going to be fun. Do you have anything other than getting some rest tonight, Matt? Right, is Roy say we done? I don't know. Has everybody died? Is everybody off the screen now? Jackson Dart? I don't know. Maybe we're backwards. I don't know. I think we're still live. I have no idea what's happening at the end of the show. We got 2 minutes left. I don't want to try and figure it out. Guys, I can see and talk to you. We're going back and forth. I don't know maybe they're just behind us. Maybe they're behind us and we'll go. I think they're just behind us and freaking me out right now because I can't get the videos to work or anything else. I'll call all our tech support after this and tell them that we broke everything at the end of last night. Have fun in the morning. This is working in radio. When something broke, it was much, much worse because now everything's online. So it's pretty much like handled by other people. But yeah, that would be the problem is you'd roll in to do a morning show. And then you couldn't get a hold of whoever did a game last night or whatever else. And then they'd be like, oh yeah, that stopped working. You didn't think to call me? You didn't want to tell me ahead of time what I was walking into that one of our screens went blank or something like that. Something difficult. All right. Well, you know what? We're going to sign off. We're in the last minute. So we're going to sign off because I have no idea what is happening anymore. And something happened to Matt. Matt, you are in a flux of the world that only I can see you. No one else can right now. I don't know what's happening. We'll hope we haven't figured out for tomorrow morning when Bucky and BK come on. But we'll go ahead and take off. We're going to have a good weekend, or a good night. Sorry, not a weekend. Jeez, everything's screwed up now in my brain. We'll be out. But remember, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, hopefully, for more from Open Gym.